All right, you and I are jumping into a crazy scene where a guy suddenly starts slaughtering his family's cows. The confused villagers have no clue what is happening, but a girl runs up to stop him. Turns out, she rejected him just yesterday. Now the gossiping crowd claims she'd take him back if he offered a fat stack of cash. She furiously denies it, but our main character has zero patience. He tells the nosy crowd to get lost, making sure to single her out. Furious, she storms off, swearing she'll never show him kindness again. Honestly, our main character couldn't care less about her attitude. The moment his parents arrive and demand answers, his tough exterior cracks. They expect an argument, but instead, they're shocked to see him break down, getting incredibly emotional just looking at them. Sobbing, he throws his arms around them, crying about how great it is to see them alive. He tells them there's no time to explain, they just have to trust him blindly and let him work. His intense glare catches them off guard, but his dad steps up, choosing to trust his boy. Suddenly, a nosy neighbor tries to convince the mother to stop her husband from enabling their crazy son. The mother isn't having it. She snaps back, saying the only crazy person here is the old hag for sticking her nose in. Now united, the family stands strong. He has a plan, but processing all these cows alone is impossible. With only 4 hours until the end of the world, time is rapidly running out. So, he yells that he'll pay top dollar to anyone willing to help. Instantly, the hypocritical villagers who called him insane start praising his brilliant business mind. Talk about a complete turnaround. Within minutes, he's got a whole crew working for him. He calls local suppliers, offering all the fresh meat at a massive discount. Before long, a massive truck arrives to haul everything away. Now, pay attention here, he secures a bag packed with cold cash, exactly what he needs. His worried parents beg for answers, but he promises to explain later. For now, they must lock themselves inside and refuse to let anyone in. It makes absolutely zero sense, but they trust him. After all, their boy has never let them down. Stashing the cash, he repeats his warning, lock everything, and open for nobody but family. As he speeds toward the city, his goal is gunpowder. He has just 2 hours left before the apocalypse begins. First, animals will mutate and hunt humans, a brutal payback for centuries of captivity. Then, humanity will succumb to the virus, turning into mindless zombies who feast on their own kind. In no time, the human race will face total extinction. Our hero's deepest scar is surviving the first apocalypse, only to watch his entire family die right before his eyes. He doesn't know how he regressed after dying in the future, but this time, everything changes. He needs fuel, generators, food, medicine, tools, and most importantly, lots of gunpowder. But priority number one is the gunpowder. Stepping into a dusty warehouse, he meets a shady dealer named Jack and his assistant Olivia. Our guy reveals he brought $100,000. Jack smirks, assuming the cash is a marriage proposal gift for his assistant. But our hero casually replies he wants it all in raw gunpowder. Jack plays innocent, claiming he keeps his business completely legal. Our protagonist just smiles, asking about a woman who supposedly died in this very room. Jack instantly freezes in shock, his face going pale. Shaken, he quickly barks orders for Olivia to prep the gunpowder. As she passes, he whispers that her father once helped him, and he intends to return the favor. Talk about a mysterious setup. This is getting very interesting. William returns loaded with explosives, shouting for his parents. Instead, his brother Lucas answers, revealing that their sister Isabella hasn't made it home yet. William panics she should have been back ages ago. Rushing out to find her, he panics did his changes trigger a butterfly effect. Speeding toward the school, which is about to become a death trap, he suddenly hits something with his car. Inspecting the body, he freezes a mutated dog. It's 1 hour ahead of schedule. The apocalypse is already here. Meanwhile, 1 hour earlier at school, a group of mean girls is mocking Isabella, claiming her brother slaughtered cows just to afford a cheap marriage proposal gift. Fed up, Isabella slaps the bully's phone straight to the ground, planning for the teacher to seize it and demand a parent conference. Brushing past her, she coldly warns the girl to watch her step next time. But Isabella forgot they both had after-class cleaning duty, and her classmate is acting insanely weird, trying to mimic her brother's cow carving with a sharp box cutter. By the time William arrives, the campus is pure chaos, and his sister is already covered in blood. The sick classmate starts vomiting. Let's look at this horror together. When Isabella runs out for help, she realizes the schoolyard below has become a bloody nightmare. A student, looking like a green goblin, charges at her. But by sheer luck or maybe just plot armor, the creature trips on absolutely nothing and faceplants. Unfortunately, the bully who was harassing Isabella earlier isn't done yet. She pounces like a wild cat. But out of nowhere, her brother arrives and lands a devastating dropkick right to the back of the monster's head. Without wasting a single second, he unsheathes his massive hunting knife and puts the creature down. Soon they are speeding back to the village, smashing through zombies. His sister tries to act tough, nervous, laughing about how it feels just like a video game. Seeing right through her fear, her brother gently tells her to drop the act and just cry. Determined to stay strong, he vows that this time he will protect their family no matter what. Hearing that brings her a moment of pure relief. Later that night, back at their quiet village, he hands his sister off to their worried parents. He announces he has to go back out to locate someone important. He warns them to defend their home at all costs. Isabella reassures their mother, saying William's presence and strength feel completely different now. Leaping across rooftops, he searches for an ally who possessed a god-tier ability in his past life. Meanwhile, in the city, a desperate girl struggles to hold back a door rammed by zombies, while two useless guys just stand around doing nothing. Suddenly, the gate bursts open, and zombies come tumbling in like trash. But she quickly realizes they aren't coming for her. William is already behind them, absolutely obliterating the horde. Startled by his cold, murderous gaze, she freezes. In the blink of an eye, he is by her side, slicing down a beast trying to bite her. He gently grabs her face, checking for any hidden injuries. Luckily, she is completely unharmed. As she blushes, he notes how different she seems from the cold survivor he knew before. Meanwhile, the two cowards start whining that he did not have to kill those things. They are unbelievably clueless, not even realizing those were actual monsters. William tries to explain that calling the police right now is totally pointless. But right on cue, guess who shows up? It is Jack, the black market dealer. He tries to rally the crowd, claiming William is spinning fairy tales. But the girl steps in to defend him, telling everyone he saved their lives. William thanks Bea but offers to prove exactly what those monsters were. He challenges anyone brave enough to tag along and witness the brutal truth firsthand. When nobody steps forward, William eyes Jack, inviting him into a dark alley to investigate. Jack finds it incredibly suspicious that this teenager somehow knows everything in advance and is perfectly prepared. Jack admits he is terrified because he is just a businessman, while William acts like a cold-blooded killer. Still, he agrees, bringing his guards. Bea insists on joining too, worried about their missing village leader. The glass-wearing coward decides to tag along to look for a friend, and they offer up their van. Arriving at the destination, they spot the leader's abandoned vehicle and begin their search. William tracks fresh footprints, blood, and signs of life leading straight to a dark cave. Warning them of the danger, he insists on scouting ahead alone. But Jack suspects. That's why he wants to go solo. Trust me, you and I can tell this guy is seriously pushing William's limits. All right, you and I are jumping right into a moment of pure dread. Jack freezes up, sensing the terrifying bloodlust rolling off William. But before anyone can move, boom. A zombie girl bursts out from the shadows, sprinting right past our main character and charging straight for the terrified group. The guy with glasses instantly runs toward her, screaming her name. Shin. She was the person he had been desperately searching for. But right as her teeth are about to sink into him, William moves like lightning, stepping in to end her suffering and save his life. Shattered, the guy collapses to his knees in tears, screaming that William murdered her and will pay. William simply sweeps his legs, knocking him down with a cold, silent stare. William tells him, I know it hurts, but Shin was already gone. She turned, and I did what I had to do to keep us alive. Huang Tao staggers up, his voice cracking with pure grief and rage. Easy for you to say, he snarls. What if I slaughtered your family right in front of you? Could you stay calm then? Those words strike William like a physical blow. Instantly, his mind flashes back to his past life, seeing the cold, bloody bodies of his family again. His breath catches. Then, with a furious snarl, he grabs Huang Tao and hoists him into the air like a rag doll. His eyes turn sharp as razor blades. In this life, absolutely nobody threatens his family and survives. He raises his blade, but then, Jack lets out a mocking laugh from the side. Look at you, Jack sneers. Maybe you are not so different from those monsters after all. Right then, a powerful grip slams into William's wrist, halting the blow and sweeping him to the dirt. A familiar voice growled, Snap out of it, idiot. Standing over him with a grim but steady look is his older brother, Lucas. Lucas then turns his gaze to Huang Tao, who is still weeping over his wife. Lucas yells, You saw what she became. Nobody wanted this to happen. If you need someone to blame, blame me. Put her death on my head, too. But right now, you have got to pull yourself together. You are the village leader. For God's sake, these people still need you. Huang Tao trembles, clenching his fists before giving a slow, broken nod as the heavy tension finally breaks. Suddenly, a faint cry echoes from the cave, begging for help. It sounds exactly like the village chief, but William freezes in suspicion. Something is wrong, the voice is too deliberate, too perfect. Now, pay attention here, because things are about to get incredibly bloody. One of Jack's thugs scoffs, calling everyone babies as he struts straight into the dark cave. A wet, sickening slice cuts through the silence. His body is sliced completely in half, spraying blood everywhere. A massive, horrifying zombie crawls out, dragging the thug's upper torso before casually tossing it aside like garbage. Behind the beast, hundreds of glowing red eyes ignite the pitch-black darkness. The entire horde is awake. This is far worse than anything William expected. The sheer number of undead is overwhelming. Even if he survives this, how can he protect Summer and his brother? Luckily, both brothers have trained since childhood under a legendary, retired military martial arts master. Their combat skills are elite. Go for the head, they hate direct light, William warns. Moving in perfect sync, the brothers slash and dodge, clearing the surrounding monsters in minutes. Meanwhile, Jack has already scrambled behind a tree, too terrified to even breathe. But deep inside that dark cave, the same creepy cry for help echoes out again. William and Lucas share a serious look. Head back now, William orders firmly. It is too dangerous ahead, and you will only slow us down. Then, without hesitation, the two step into the dark. Just inside, William stops dead in his tracks. A desiccated corpse lies before them, its heart completely ripped out. Then, that same eerie voice whispers unnaturally through the heavy cavern air. Lucas sweeps his flashlight across the cavern. Sitting in the shadows with his back to them is the village chief, completely still. Then, he suddenly snaps his head around. With a pale face and hollow eyes, squirming tentacles erupt from his chest. The monster lunges with horrifying speed, but William reacts on pure instinct, swinging his blade right at its head. But the moment his blade connects, you and I both know something is wrong. It barely even flinches. This is a powerful mutant, and its tentacles instantly whip out, slamming William hard against the stone wall. Lucas shines his flashlight directly in its face. The beast screeches, flinching violently from the light, giving them just enough time to scramble out of the cave. Gasping for air, Lucas looks at his brother in absolute shock. What on earth was that thing? William exhales slowly, explaining that it looks like a cross-species infection. It is some genetic fusion between animals and humans and has actually evolved past the basic undead. He nods toward the shadow, adding that it is a stage 2 variant, likely the chief himself. William looks up at the bright, full moon. Luckily, they fear intense light and won't chase us out here. Lucas stares in absolute disbelief, asking, "Since when did you become a virologist?" "I guess I watched too many documentaries before everything collapsed," William replies. They prepare to head back, planning to return tomorrow with heavy gear to take down the mutant. But suddenly, a storm of glowing red eyes erupts from the cave. It is an entire horde of mutated bats, instantly blocking out the moon with a flurry of black wings. Using the chaos, the mutant zombie launches forward like a missile, striking Lucas with brutal force and throwing him back. A tentacle then lashes out, instantly shattering William's flashlight. Its target is clear, it has completely locked onto Lucas. William gritted his teeth and pulls with every ounce of his strength, but it is totally useless. The beast's power is overwhelming, far beyond human limits. As its massive jaws are about to snap down on Lucas, William freezes in sheer, helpless horror. But then screech. A car comes speeding onto the scene. The door flies open, revealing Bea at the wheel. Without hesitating, she floors it and slams right into the mutant, sending it flying. William quickly seizes the opening. He lunges forward and delivers the killing blow, ending the monster. Realizing this creature was actually their former village chief, Bea is left visibly shaken. Lucas lets out a heavy, tired breath. "If you had not shown up when you did, we would both be dead." But before they can even breathe, William's face turns completely pale as he spots it. A deep, unmistakable bite mark on Lucas's forearm. Lucas gives a weak, exhausted smile. "I am sorry, little brother. You have to protect the family now. And as for what we do next, I do not need to say it." Those words pierce William like a dagger, knowing he is the one who must end his brother's misery. Staring at his infected sibling, he is completely crushed under a wave of absolute guilt. He truly believed being reborn would let him rewrite destiny and protect his family. So why, after all this, was history brutally repeating itself? Suddenly, his eyes lock onto the mutant's corpse. He rushes over, rips his sword from its skull, and starts hacking at the head repeatedly, sending black blood splattering everywhere. Thinking he has snapped from grief, Lucas screams, "William, what are you doing? Stop." Bea also yells, trying to pull him away, But he refuses to stop because a sudden realization hits him. He remembers that high-tier mutants absorb viral energy from the lesser infected, condensing it into a powerful crystallized core hidden deep inside their skulls. Seconds later, he pulls it out a dark, blood-colored crystal nestled deep within the brain. He turns to Lucas, his voice steady and eyes blazing with newfound hope. "You have not turned yet. There is still time." Holding out the crystal, William explains with a heavy voice that this zombie core is made of condensed viral energy, matching the infection inside him. If you swallow it, you might evolve and become immune, but if it fails, you will instantly turn into one of those terrifying monsters. Lucas swallows it instantly, without a second thought. And as we leave them there with Lucas smirking about saving the drama, trust me, you and I are going to want to see what happens next. All right, you and I are about to watch Lucas make a desperate bet. 2 days, he says, heading into the cave. If he is not back, seal it. If he comes out with superpowers, William better not get jealous. Watching his brother walk away, William felt the heavy burden lift a bit. He truly believed in him. With a faint smile, he whispered that he would be waiting. But nearby, hidden behind a tree, Linji had overheard everything. A sinister grin crept across his face as he plotted. Time to speed things up, he thought. The next morning at sunrise, Vanessa barged into her brother's room wearing some crazy improvised armor, shouting at him to wake up. He stared, asking what on earth she was wearing. Honestly, she looked like a trash can with legs. But his proud sister insisted they needed to secure their defenses. She spent the entire night building that armor and wanted a nice compliment. Instead, her brother just poked her with a single finger, sending her rolling right out of the house. Outside, he asked about her master plan. Her answer? Roll over the zombies for a strike. Meanwhile, their dad climbed down from the defensive wall he was building. The old man grinned, carrying a massive barrel of black powder. Where did he even get that? William warned him that explosives were not toys, but his dad just ran off, shouting that he had important business. William prayed their house wouldn't explode by accident, but then he heard his sister rolling around outside and realized their mom was now trying out the trash can suit too. No DNA test needed for these two. When he asked for breakfast, his mom claimed she was too busy training her secret, deadly household cleaning technique to cook. Just as someone went to ring the doorbell, William opened it. To his absolute surprise, the gorgeous girl standing outside was Bea, and she was there to ask for his help. His curious mom stepped up to greet her. Bea turned back to William, explaining that the local village committee was finally organizing defenses. Things were going okay, but she had contacted the county police the previous night and received absolutely nothing back. No replies, no alerts. William checked his phone. Still no signal at all. He found this extremely weird. It did not happen in his past life. Pay attention here, because if they are completely cut off, they might miss crucial news about reinforcements. Bea wanted him to go with her to the county to investigate. But William stayed completely silent, clearly worried about the danger of this request. Seeing his hesitation, Bea bowed her head. She knew what his brother went through yesterday and felt guilty asking him to risk his life again. But it was crucial. Finding the truth was her duty, and William was their strongest fighter. Right now, he understood those horrific creatures better than anyone else in the village. Suddenly, his mom cut in, telling them to stop talking. But then the old lady surprised them both. She admitted that without Bea yesterday, her foolish son might have died. Bea looked up in surprise. The woman called them inside and rummaged through an old wooden cabinet. She told them that parents are there to protect, not to lock them up. "We are here to support you, not hold you back," she said warmly. "Look at you, so grown, strong, and brave." Then, she pulled out a long, deadly blade and handed it over. He was to use this weapon. As they set off, William stayed quiet while the women chatted. It was obvious who really ran things around here. His mom watched them leave, muttering to herself that they made a handsome couple. That girl would definitely give her some adorable grandkids one day. Meanwhile, deep inside the dark cave, Lucas waited for the zombie core he swallowed to take effect. Hearing footsteps, he assumed it was his brother and quickly called out to him. He told William to stay back. But then, he felt a wet liquid pooling near his boots. Frowning, he touched it and sniffed his finger. His face instantly twisted in horror. Gasoline. Don't blink, because before you can even react, a spark ignites. A massive explosion erupts, and flames tear through the entire cave tunnel. Meanwhile, William and Bea were driving toward the county to find help. Bea sat in the passenger seat, staring anxiously out the window while softly humming a tune totally off-key. William glanced over, thinking she was incredibly tone-deaf. Noticing him staring, Bea blushed, apologizing and saying she hums when she gets nervous. But William was not laughing at all. Instead, he felt a strange warmth. She was terrified, yet she was still pushing forward. That was the brave Bia he remembered from his past. With so many new variables, he could not just rely on past memories. Her unique sensitivity to the undead was something he had to put his trust in. Out of nowhere, he suggested she stay at his place. She froze, her cheeks turning pink as she asked why. But William did not even catch the shift in her tone. He was too caught up in his thoughts. He could not tell her about her future powers yet, so he just said plainly that he needed her safe and could not lose her. Just as Bea was about to ask what he meant, William frowned. The road ahead was completely blocked by a massive landslide. They jumped out of the car to investigate the damage. Looking at the massive pile of debris, Bea sighed in frustration. There was no way to reach the county now. William did not reply, but inside, panic was rising. This road was perfectly fine in his past life. Something had changed. Not just the timeline, but the physical path. If they were cut off, future supply runs would be impossible. Exhaling, he suggested they head back to the village and figure out a new plan. Bea nodded silently, but on the drive back, William's mind was racing. They had enough food for now, but with no signal and no escape route, walls were closing in. Suddenly, the car violently jolted. Sliding toward the edge of a bridge, William slammed on the brakes, gripping the steering wheel with absolute desperation. Tires screeched as the vehicle stopped inches from a deadly drop. They bolted outside to check the damage, and Bea spotted a spike strip laid out across the road. William shouted at her to stay back. This trap was deliberate. Suddenly, a mocking voice echoed from above. Crouched on the bridge railing was Jack, casually spinning a pistol around his finger. William stared coldly as Jack blamed him for wiping out half his crew the previous night. Saying he could not let that slide, the gang leader jumped down and stalked toward them. Remaining calm, William told him to go fight zombies if he wanted revenge. But Jack ignored the advice, taunting him and calling him a coward until he finally hit a nerve. Jack snapped, threatening to murder him, while William slowly gripped his hilt, daring him to try. But just as the tension peaked, Jack suddenly aimed his gun and shot Bea instead. She collapsed to the ground, blood quickly staining her clothes. William froze in absolute horror, screaming Jack's name. Jack laughed, declaring that making William suffer was his ultimate goal. He mocked William, saying targeting loved ones is the easiest way to break a man. He then taunted him for sparing his infected brother, confessing that he had blown up the entire mine. The words struck William like lightning. His eyes turned bloodshot as he drew his sword with a primal, raging scream, charging directly at the smug villain. Jack smiled, ready to fire. But wait, you are not going to believe what happens next. A Tier 2 zombie wolf bursts from the trees, sinking its fangs into Jack and tearing off his arm. All right, you and I are diving right into the chaos as he collapses, screaming, leaving William completely stunned. Meanwhile, back at the village, Isabella idly swings her legs on a rooftop, wondering where her brother and Luna could be. Suddenly, violent banging rattles the gate as voices shout out for William. Leaning forward, Isabella spots Huangta and Uncle Neo. She yells back that her brother is out, demanding to know what is going on. Hongo points frantically toward the distant ridge, telling her to look. Isabella grabs her phone and flicks on the flashlight. The moment the beam hits the dark hillside, her face goes completely pale. An endless sea of undead is cascading down the slopes. It is a massive wave of zombies heading straight for the village. Meanwhile, Jack lies on the ground, blood pooling rapidly beneath him. Barely conscious, he mutters through clenched teeth, wondering if this is really the end. Just then, a zombie wolf locks its bloodshot eyes onto William. His instincts scream that this is bad. The beast is locked on. With a piercing howl, it lunges forward, but William sidesteps with perfect timing, slicing his blade deep across its chest midair. Blood sprays as the beast hits the dirt, howling in agony. William exhales, keeping his guard up. It is only dusk, so the monster is not at full strength. But once night falls, they stand no chance. Then guttural howls echo from the forest. His heart stops. This is not some small patrol group. It is a full-scale horde. He stares in horror as a massive wave of undead spills from the tree line. The village chief was supposed to be behind this, but he is already dead. So what is causing it? The bats? Could they be the real source of this nightmare? The thought barely forms before the wolf strikes again, claws tearing through the empty air. William twists away at the absolute last second, his heart pounding. The beast is still ridiculously fast, even after that massive wound. He watches in pure disbelief as the slash on its chest heals instantly. Before he can react, the wolf charges again, jaws wide open. Meanwhile, deep inside the cave where Lucas was buried, The ground suddenly trembles as rubble shifts and a low rumble grows louder. A violent blast shatters the rocks, and stepping out from the smoke is Lucas himself. His body glows with an eerie red light, and a cold, twisted grin spreads across his face. On the bridge, Bea stands completely frozen in horror as the zombie wolf snaps its jaws right at William. Pay close attention here because just as she begs for him to survive, a massive red aura explodes from William's body. A fiery light pulses beneath his skin, unleashing a raw, unstable surge of absolute power. With a feral roar, he drives his fist straight into the wolf's jaw. The beast reels from the impact, shrieking in agony as blood sprays from its mouth before it crashes down. William does not hesitate. Eyes glowing crimson, he leaps forward, raises his blade high, and brings it down in one clean, devastating slice. The wolf is sliced clean in half. As the dust settles, Bea stares in utter disbelief, her voice barely a whisper as she calls his name. William turns to her with a gentle smile, telling her that he is here. Suddenly, William drops to one knee, completely exhausted. Bea lets out a quiet, relieved laugh that he is still breathing. She looks at the shredded corpse of the monster, then back at him, calling him totally insane. Even so, she has to admit it does not really surprise her anymore. Deep down, she has already started believing he can solve anything. Meanwhile, William stares at his hands, feeling that bizarre power still humming beneath his skin. It feels wild, yet somehow controlled. He wonders where this energy came from, questioning if he just awakened. But something here does not add up. In his past life, awakening required a crystal core, and he had never even touched one. But his thoughts are cut short as the undead close in fast. Standing up, his expression hardens. There is no time to think. They have to move now. They are surrounded, and staying here means certain death. Noticing Bea's injured leg, he steps in without hesitation. She cannot run in that condition, so he decides to carry her. Even with pain draining the color from her face, she gives him a determined nod. Nearby, the snarls of the approaching zombies grow louder, slicing through the air like blades. William acts instantly, hoisting Bea onto his back and sprinting toward the village with everything he has. The gates finally come into view, but the dead are closing in, their sheer numbers completely overwhelming them. Even if he fights, there is no way to keep Luna safe in this madness. But just as the horde closes in, a thunderous roar echoes from the distance. A massive vehicle tears through the undead, crushing everything in its path. It is a customized off-road truck, spitting fire from its exhaust as it plows a burning path through the horde. The driver spins the wheel hard, drifting the heavy truck and torching zombies left and right. The truck skids to a sudden stop, and I know what you are thinking. Who's driving this beast? It is William's dad, cigarette in hand and a grin on his face, shouting that he has his son's back. From the passenger seat, William waves enthusiastically, totally ready to light things up. Once everyone climbs inside, William's dad slams the gas, speeding toward the village as the undead swarm behind them. He orders him to throw 3 of their special dragon bombs. William quickly obeys, tossing 3 homemade firebombs out the open window. Explosions erupt, and flames consume dozens of zombies, though some keep running even while burning. Still chasing them while on fire, the monsters push forward. William's father snorts, declaring they are going to finish this. He tosses a barrel of powder out the window and flicks his cigarette right into it. The resulting explosion lights up the entire road, engulfing the horde in a massive wall of fire. In the back, William claps, loving the chaos. Up front, William and Bea exchange a look, completely unsure whether to feel relieved or even more terrified. Honestly, these people might actually be crazier than the literal monsters. Suddenly remembering the first aid kit, William reaches under the seat and pulls it out. But as he opens it to grab some bandages, William snatches them away, teasing that he cannot just touch a girl's leg like that. Unless there is something going on between them that she should know about. Bea lets out a quiet laugh, her cheeks flushing red, while William rolls his eyes, muttering that his sister always causes trouble. Ignoring her, he asks his dad how the village is holding up. His father keeps his eyes on the rearview mirror, saying that they are holding the line for now. William looks over at the massive pile of explosives in the back, all that dynamite, made by hand. And he was smoking right next to it. His dad just laughs. Of course he did, since he used to be the demolition expert back in the mines. But after they shut down, he had nothing left to blow up. He tried experimenting with fireworks at home, but his wife put a stop to that real quick, sighing like he lost his true passion. Wait a second, William says suddenly. Was that kitchen explosion last year actually his fault? His dad tenses up immediately, denying it, but William just squints at him. You are shaking, his father mutters, begging him not to tell his mother. Soon, they reach the village gate, but as they step out, Loud shrieks echo from inside the yard. William's father freezes. He rushes to the front door and rattles the handle, but it is locked tight from the inside. Without hesitating, William steps up and breaks the door open with a brutal knee strike. Inside, the scene is completely unreal. His mother is holding a zombie by the neck with one hand, calm as ever. She stares at it and flatly remarks that it is Auntie John from the neighboring village, noting it has been a while. William and his father peek hesitantly from behind the broken door. Her sharp glare sends a literal chill down their spines, keeping them hidden. Peeking out, William cautiously calls out to his mom. She does not even look up, gripping a heavy frying pan in her other hand. She mutters that being a zombie does not mean her debt disappears, before slamming the frying pan right into the creature's face. And she has not forgotten about the money either. The zombie owes her 500 from their last card game. She even gave her son 600 for college, but got absolutely nothing in return. To make things worse, she was talking behind their backs. Stunned, William stares at his mother and leans toward his dad, asking when she got this strong. His dad simply replies that she has always been like this. Puffing his cigarette, his dad reveals that back in the day, nobody in 10 villages dared mess with her, taking 5 men just to hold her back. And trust me, you and I can definitely see who really runs this family. Let's jump right into this chaos. Suddenly, a flying frying pan smacks him right in the head, and a voice screeches, "Liar, you begged to marry me." She glares at William next. "And you," she yells, mocking him for busting the gate like a hero. "Just wait till I get you." William backs away slowly, planning to run. Before he can escape, Bea steps in. "Maria, wait. He was only trying to protect you." Hearing Luna speak up, William's mother completely freezes mid-step, her anger instantly vanishing. Her face completely softens as she turns. "Oh, Luna, you are here too. I was just joking earlier. Do not take it seriously. You know how easygoing I always am." William just stands there. His mother's instant personality shifts are honestly more terrifying than the apocalypse. But suddenly, a screech cuts through the air. A zombie climbs the courtyard wall and roars. Before it can jump, a massive hit knocks it right off the edge. Wang Tao stands on the wall, screaming in panic. "Stop wasting time. They are breaking through." A massive horde approaches from the west. William locks in. Red energy crackles around his body as he charges. Nearby, his father starts chucking explosives left and right. His sister fires her homemade cannon, while his mother swings her trusty frying pan. For the first time, William knows they can do this. Together, they will protect their home. He is not alone anymore. With his family fighting beside him, they can survive this nightmare. But just like that, the zombies at the back start backing off. William stares in total disbelief. Are they actually retreating? No way. Zombies do not feel fear. But then, the monsters return carrying ladders, crowbars, and heavy-duty saws. They are completely organized. His father is absolutely stunned. Is this a joke? They have actual tools now. Are we fighting a horde or a trained army? William whispers. They are not acting alone. Someone is commanding them. Through the smoke, William spots a dark figure standing on a distant roof. It is Jack. Now pay attention, because the family compound comes under full assault as waves of undead flood in. His father grit his teeth. Why are they targeting us specifically? He screams to Willianing, asking for the explosives. She panics, shouting back that they are completely out. That was their entire supply. Suddenly, Huang Tao yells over the deafening noise. They are scaling the sidewall. William watches them climb, realizing it is all a clever distraction. They are coordinating this assault. Below him, Bea and his parents are completely surrounded, fighting with everything they have left. The entire family is trapped in a final stand. Red light flashes in William's eyes. "Mom, Dad, hold the yard. I will handle this." Power erupts through his veins as he leaps from the wall, diving into the swarm. His father watches in sheer horror. He tries to scream, but cannot stop what happens next. A mountain of zombies collapses over William, burying him under claws and teeth. But even under that insane weight, William stays perfectly calm. He closes his eyes, channeling the storm of energy inside. Gripping his sword tight, he whispers through grit teeth. "Blood barrier, Earthbreaker force, Blood Azora, go." He slashes his blade in one swift motion, releasing a devastating red shockwave that shreds everything around him. Monsters are torn to pieces and thrown like trash. As the dust settles, William stands there, catching his breath. That skill felt incredibly familiar to him. In his past life, only the legendary Supreme Commander of the Dawn Legion could pull that off. William knows his version is far from perfect, but that does not matter right now. He does not need perfection. He just needs to be strong enough to protect his family. His eyes lock onto the mastermind watching from above. These mindless zombies are not the real threat. The Beastmaster is the real target. To end this, he has to cut off the snake's head. As another wave charges, William just grins, his red eyes blazing. You think this trash can stop me? Just then, a deafening roar echoes from behind. A cold shiver runs down his spine. He spins around just in time to see a massive zombie lunging straight at Bea. Before it can touch her, his mother swings her skillet, blasting the monster away. She rushes to Luna, frantic. Are you hurt? Did it bite you? Trembling, Luna shakes her head. I am fine, Maria. Where is William? From nearby, William shouts, I saw him. He jumped right into the horde like a superhero, shredding everything. He will be fine. But as she speaks, the ground violently shakes. You feel that dread too, right? She freezes, turning to witness the aftermath. Through the thick dust and rubble, William is down on the ground, bloody and beaten, barely able to stand. Using his last bit of energy, he screams, Stay back. Run. Standing before him is a massive zombie bear, twice the size of a truck. Spikes of steel jut from its flesh, eyes glowing red as it exhales hot steam. It is not just watching, it is actively hunting him. William is shaking from intense pain, but he refuses to give up, keeping his eyes locked on the monster. This fight is entirely on him. He is the only one who can stop this, and he will not let anyone else get hurt. His eyes ignite, unleashing his final power. Payaki. Red energy surges around him like a raging wildfire. Clenching his teeth, he stands firm against the beast. If today is his last day, he will die protecting his family. From the courtyard, his family screams in pure panic, begging him to fall back. But William stands his ground. The giant bear roars, its massive claws swinging down like a guillotine. William barely dodges the strike. But right before the next blow lands, a loud crash echoes through the yard. Well, looks like you can use this kind of power too. And here I thought you were slacking. The dust settles, revealing William Ming effortlessly blocking the giant claw with one hand. Sorry to keep you waiting, little brother. Big bro. William Ming smirks and rolls his shoulders. With a single effortless twist of his arm, he throws the massive zombie bear flying high into the air. The beast crashes into the ruins like a derailed train. Dusting himself off, William Ming smirks. Still breathing? Quite the tough hide for a giant, oversized hamster. William Ming turns back. I will handle this. Go do what only you can do. William smirks, his eyes turning cold. Understood. He turns, locking his gaze on Jack. Memories of his past life flood his mind. His family dying, his own helpless screams, the bitter rage and nightmares. This time, he has the power to change everything. He will destroy anything that threatens his family. Taking a slow step forward, William speaks with a freezing tone. Jack. So, you are still breathing after all. Jack turns, showing off a grotesque, wolf-like claw where his arm used to be. He lets out a low, rasping laugh. You are speaking to a god now. The old Jack is dead. This body has surpassed human limits. Part zombie, part man, with perfect intellect and control. I command this horde while keeping my mind. In this new world, I am king. Below them, the horde surges forward. Jack closes his eyes, soaking in the dark energy filling his body. He smirks. You know, William, I really should thank you. How should I repay you? Before he can even finish, shing, a flash of steel. Trust me, you and I are about to see William's blade come down hard. All right, you and I are jumping right into the action as Jack's head splits wide open. Blood sprays like a geyser, and William coldly sheathes his blade. Same old coward, just louder. Did you really think you can rule? William turns away to scan the war zone, hoping his brother is doing all right now that the threat is gone. But suddenly, a chilling laugh echoes from right behind him. Is that all you got? William freezes, turning around slowly only to find Jack standing back up. His split skull begins fusing together, flesh squirming and bones snapping back into place with horrible cracks. Lingy's eyes glow a wild red as he grins with a deep, monstrous voice, telling William that no blade can kill him. William's eyes go wide. He raises his sword to defend his chest, realizing this monster has the zombie wolf's insane healing power. He needs to end this now. But before he can swing, Jack shadows him instantly. The monster whispers venom into his ear, telling him they are the same and this is their era. Join me, he says. The dead will serve us, and the living will feed us. Mankind will become our cattle. He points toward the swarming zombie horde, laughing that he brought a little welcoming gift by wiping out the weaklings in the area. Down below, the endless zombie tide reaches the outer walls. Inside the courtyard, William's parents, Bing Bing, and the others are desperately struggling just to hold their defense. Uncle Neo screams that the west side is collapsing. Covered in sweat, William's father pants heavily, urging them to hold on just a bit longer, because the boys will finish this soon. But before he can even catch his breath, boom. The earth shakes violently as a giant bear's corpse crashes down right next to him, exploding in dirt and blood. Behind the wall, William Ming jokingly shouts that the big guy could really take a beating, suggesting they plug the gap with him. His father spins around, filled with both relief and tension. He asks how William is doing, but William Ming only stares at the swarming undead closing in. Clenching his jaw, he realizes there is absolutely no escape right now. He looks at his dad and says confidently, "Don't worry. William is way stronger than me. He is going to end this. Now. You and I need to watch this part closely." William gets brutally blasted by Jack, crashing down as dust explodes, leaving him completely battered and bleeding. Jack struts over and squats on the rubble with a smug grin, mocking his pathetic strength. He offers to spare his life if he just kneels before his rightful king. But before he can finish, slash. A crimson flash rips through the air as William lunges, slicing Jack's chest and blasting him straight through 3 solid stone walls. Through the swirling dust, William stands tall with ice-cold eyes, declaring that humans do not walk with beasts who threaten his family. He marches toward the rubble, his sword dripping with fresh blood. Like a judge passing sentence, he promises to kill him. But right then, Lingy's massive chest wound begins closing up and healing almost instantly. Standing back up, he licks the blood off his claws and coldly sentences William to death instead. In a terrifying flash, he lunges straight ahead. His claws slice down like a brutal guillotine. William barely blocks it in time as sparks fly. The monster has become incredibly fast and ridiculously strong. William's arms shake violently under the relentless pressure as Lee rains down strikes. Suddenly, a flash of pain tears right through William's arm. A deep wound opens up, bypassing his defensive barrier. He quickly kicks back to gain some distance, staring at the damage with narrow, worried eyes. His blood barrier is failing, and he is hitting his absolute limit. Across the field, Jack sneers, mocking that he expected to be staring at William's spilled guts by now. You and I both know he is running on empty as his vision blurs and his aura fades. Yet, he looks up, glares at the beast, and grips his sword even tighter. If there is only one strike left, this is it. But before he can move, Jack teleports right in front of his face with glowing red eyes and a wicked grin. He whispers gotcha, bragging about his own terrifying power. William freezes for just a split second, and Jack's claws rip horribly deep across his chest. Blood sprays everywhere, soaking the ground. But in that split second, William reaches inside his coat, using his final bit of strength to hurl an explosive right at his face. "Eat this, bastard." Boom. A massive inferno erupts, swallowing the entire area. But from inside the roaring flames, Jack's mocking voice asks if a simple Molotov is all he has. Jack walks out of the smoke completely untouched, only to realize William has vanished. He blinks in confusion, then bursts into a wild, manic laugh. He mocks that William's blood scent is like a flare in the dark. His grin vanishes, eyes turning cold as he warns that he will hunt him down. And when he does, he will rip him apart. Meanwhile, a heavily bleeding William collapses inside a dark, quiet convenience store, gasping for air. Sweat and blood sting his eyes, but his grip on the sword never slips. Slumping against a cold shelf, he notices the bleeding has stopped. It is not fully healed, but it is enough to surprise him. The blood energy can heal, but his relief is cut short. He is completely drained, with only one move left for a final shot. Suddenly, heavy footsteps echo outside. Jack's cruel voice booms through the area, mocking him for choosing a cheap gas station as his final resting place. His sharp claws scrape loudly across a rusted van. Sparks fly as the metal shrieks in protest. Slowing his pace, he speaks in a low, chilling tone like a seasoned predator playing with his prey. He asks if William knows why wolves hunt when they are not even hungry. It is to savor the absolute terror when every clever trick fails. That exact moment of total despair is the finest spice. Grinning, he kicks a nearby car with monstrous force, flipping it over with a deafening crash. Looking down, he tracks the blood trail straight to a hidden tripwire soaked in gasoline. Right above it hangs a glass Molotov, primed to drop. Linji sneers with a wide smile, mocking William for thinking he would blindly walk right into such an obvious trap. He slowly raises his claw, eyes narrowing. He knows the real scent of blood is coming from right above him. In a flash, Jack leaps upward, tearing through the roof and shattering the ceiling into a storm of debris. The ceiling collapses, and amid the falling debris, a blood-soaked jacket drops right at his feet. He grabs it, completely confused as his eyes narrow. Just a jacket, but before he can react, whoosh. Jotjua bursts from the darkness in one fluid motion, throwing a fistful of white powder right into Jack's face. Lee screams in agony, clutching his burning eyes and demanding to know what he did. Jua steps closer with a cold smirk, calmly revealing that it was only simple salt. And as you and I can see, his massive wolf strength came with a fatal flaw. Jua steps forward, explaining that the beast's greatest weapon is now his worst nightmare. A wolf has over 200 million scent cells, making it hypersensitive. That makes simple salt feel like pure, agonizing acid. He glares down at the writhing monster. You and I know that people always lower their guard after spotting a trap. This self-proclaimed king is no different, just a blind dog choking on his own arrogance, making Jack roar in wild rage. I will tear you apart, Jua. I will kill you. Jua calmly raised his blade, whispering that he would not get the chance, as crimson blood energy surged through his arm, wrapping his sword in power. Blood Azora, World Splitter. The blade brought down a flash of lethal red light. Boom. Jack was slammed deep into the earth, sending a massive shockwave ripping through the shattered ground. Heavy smoke filled the air until the massive crater finally came into view. Standing at the edge, Jotja stared down into the pit and muttered, "Damn, you monsters really are hard to kill." Lengi lay crushed inside the pit, bloodied and gasping, yet still snarling that a king never dies. But his eyes suddenly widened in sheer horror as a thick, oily liquid began rising around him. It reeked heavily of gasoline. "What is this?" he panicked, his fury instantly vanishing. Jotjua's voice cut through the cold air, calmly saying those little fire bombs just were not enough. He stood looking up at the sky. "So, I figured, why not see if a massive underground fuel tank can blow a monster like you straight to hell?" His calm tone showed no fear, only cold, quiet finality. "This gas station is your coffin. Goodbye, Jack." Back at the village, Jot's father stood holding his weapons when a thunderous explosion suddenly shook the distant horizon. Looking up in confusion, he wondered what on earth was happening. Right then, a massive fireball bloomed in the distance like a second sun. He stood in absolute silence, watching the fiery horizon glow. "The sun is rising," he muttered. Suddenly, Zhou shouted in pure excitement. Everyone turned to see the massive zombie horde that had surrounded them all night finally retreating. As the tide of death retreated, the exhausted survivors smiled in relief. Meanwhile, Jotjua watched the dawn, smiling gently as he walked home. But then, a weak, trembling voice called out from behind. Leaning against a ruined wall was a pale, barely conscious girl, begging Zhou to help her before collapsing. Zhou froze instantly, turning his head back slowly to see who it was. Back at home, Zhou stood with her arms crossed, glaring at her brother. "Are you seriously a pervert?" she snapped. "What guy strips a girl in public?" Jua sighed in frustration. "I was only checking if Li Qin had been bitten. You cannot just trust people because they look fine. Countless groups were completely wiped out because of that exact mistake," he explained defensively. "Plus, I was shirtless too, so technically it was fair." Zhou rolled her eyes in annoyance. "That just makes you sound like a total creep. It is a good thing I stopped you. Now pay attention here." Before Zhou could even argue, the nearby door slowly creaked open. See how Luna stepped out, calmly reassuring them that she was fine, just completely exhausted both mentally and physically. "She will wake up soon," she added, looking at them. "Why do you both look so weird?" Zhou coughed nervously, forcing a quick smile. "Oh, nothing. We are just glad you are all right." "I see." Zhou turned toward her with a rare hint of warmth in his voice. "Thanks for all your help." See how Luna looked down quietly, replying that she had not really done much at all. "You guys are the ones who did the real heavy lifting." After a brief rest, Hang Tao, Uncle Nio, and Luna prepared to head out. They wanted to sweep the village for survivors while they still had daylight. Right before they departed, Jojo called out to Luna, noticing the guilt in her eyes. "Luna, do not blame yourself. No one could have predicted a surprise zombie attack like that. We cannot save everyone, but as long as we are alive, hope remains." Luna turned back with a gentle smile, thanking him, while Zhou Ming chuckled from the car, teasing his little brother. "Look at you, finally learning how to speak like a normal human." Jojo watched them drive off, whispering that this time, the ending is different. Zhou Ming raised an eyebrow in confusion. "Your emotional intelligence is hopeless, but whatever," he sighed, turning the ignition. "Let us go. We still have to handle the bodies." Soon, they drove toward the mountains for the cleanup. Watching the burning corpses, Zhou spoke quietly. "We have to completely incinerate these mutated monsters. If wild animals eat them, we will be looking at another massive outbreak." Zhou Ming dusted off his hands with a grin. "Finally, we can head home and get some actual sleep. Oh, and Jojo, Make sure to wash the car. It smells terrible. I know what you were thinking. Is he really going to clean it? Jojo scratched his head awkwardly, muttering about the station, then snapped, Wait, why do I have to do it? Because I am your older brother, Jo Ming smirked. Jojo narrowed his eyes, challenging him. You know the rules. Jo Ming laughed. Are you sure you can still beat me now? They quickly set up the game. Jo Ming was the hunter, while Joa played the ghost. The rules were simple. Count to 10 seconds, then run like crazy. If caught within 3 minutes, the hunter wins. As Jojo activated his power and sprinted off, Jo Ming chuckled behind him, asking if he forgot that he knew that trick too. Before Jojo could react, his brother was right behind him, lunging to grab him. Jojo stopped on a dime, twisting his body to dodge to the side like a shadow. The two dashed through the thick forest, leaping over roots and weaving between trees in a relentless game of tag. Suddenly, Joja leapt high, aiming for a tree branch overhead. Jo Ming smirked as he went airborne, yelling, Nice try. Without warning, he charged straight toward the tree just as Joja reached for the branch. Crack! The tree toppled with a thunderous crash. Startled, Joja adjusted midair, landing safely. Behind him, Jo Ming stood grinning with his blade in hand, fresh from felling the massive tree. Thought you could escape up there? No chance. Joe had barely landed when he felt a massive weight coming. He spun around to find Jo Ming hurling the entire tree trunk. Joe crossed his arms, blocking it with full force. The brothers locked in place, pushing and resisting, energy crackling between them. Jo Ming laughed, his voice packed with pure challenge. Running again, little bro? Joja did not answer the teasing. He was too focused on holding back the crushing tree, silently marveling at the raw force behind the strike. Knowing he could not push back head-on, he let the momentum carry him backward to absorb the impact. Moments later, the giant log smashed into the cliff, kicking up thick dust. Jo Ming, standing amidst the mess, scratched his head awkwardly. Did I go too hard? He shouted, looking around for Joe, but he received no reply whatsoever. As the dust cleared, he saw no one. Suddenly, a pebble hit his head. Joe's voice floated from above. Time is up. Ghost wins this round. Jo Ming looked up. When did you get up there, you sneaky brat? Jojo jumped down lightly, grinning. When I leaned back against the cliff to absorb the impact, I learned how our powers work. Did too. Joe shrugged. Something like that, he said, silently recalling his actual previous life. But I think my ability is a bit different. I can actually tap into other people's powers. Jo Ming blinked in utter surprise, asking if he could literally copy them. Exactly, Jojo nodded. Your ability is Blood Bastion, right? It drastically boosts your overall physical strength, speed, and ultimate defense. Plus, that crimson aura can block most physical attacks. Based on our little fight, I can replicate about 70% of it. Jo Ming raised an eyebrow. 70%, and I still lost? Damn. And that is not all, Joe added, claiming he can assess abilities in detail. Jo Ming blinked. Wait, are you and I looking at a broken RPG-style system interface now? Alright, you and I are jumping right into a world where stats are everything. Joja flexes his fingers, explaining that he can actually sense people's hidden numbers. If a regular adult is 20, Jo Ming's power sits at a massive 90. His endurance is 95, but when a grinning Jo Ming asks if his intelligence got a boost too, Joja just smirks and says, Nope, yours is basically 0. Watching him struggle with a tree stump was just painful. Jo Ming grabs his shoulder with a playful growl, warning him that a 0 IQ can still knock his teeth out. But then he suddenly remembers something. He hid the zombie bear's core crystal in Joja's drawer for safekeeping. But as the brothers laugh, they have no idea a shadowy figure is hiding in the trees, listening to every single word. Late that night, a shadow slips into Joja's room. It's actually Jo Ming, whose eyes light up as he snatches the crystal core from the drawer, whispering that he finally has a superpower. The next morning, Mom heads out for supplies and orders Joja to plow the fields. Under a brutal, blazing sun, he is sweating bullets, doing the heavy lifting. He grumbles to himself about how his older brother gets to chill while he does the grunt work. Seriously, Mom's favoritism is too real. Sighing, Jojo quietly activates his cheat skill to speed up the plowing. Nearby, a girl named Leon is hiding in the corner, clutching a cup of water with trembling hands. After gathering her courage, she takes a deep breath and steps forward. Plastering a sweet, bright smile on her face, she calls out, Joja, there you are. I was looking for you. Joja is busy scrubbing disgusting zombie blood off the wall when he hears her. Glancing over his shoulder, he calmly asks, Lien, are you feeling any better now? She flashes a sweet, charming smile, replying that she is doing much better and thanking him for saving her life. But Joja just responds with total indifference. He tells her he was just keeping a promise, so there is no need to thank him. Ignoring his icy tone, she pours a cup of water, insisting she still owes him. Now, watch this part closely. She softly asks if he can protect her in the future, but Joja shuts her down with a cold, flat no. Her voice starts to tremble. She asks why. But without even turning around, he coolly explains that saving her repaid her father's past kindness. Now they are completely even. He states calmly but firmly that he has absolutely no responsibility to keep helping her. Hearing this, she lowers her head and whispers that she understands. After finishing up, Joja stands before the spotless wall. Feeling a strange power surge deep inside him, he mutters that his blood butcher ability is definitely not meant for farming. He needs to train more to control it. Suddenly, a frantic knock rattles the front door. He quickly opens it, frowning as he asks what is happening. Inside, Bea and the search party sit on the sofa with their heads hanging low. Jojo looks at their defeated faces, his expression instantly darkening. There are no survivors left in the village, Bea says, biting her lip in grief. But before she can apologize, Joja stops her, saying it is not her fault. No amount of preparation can stop an entire corpse tide. They risk their lives searching the village, which is more than enough. After a long silence, Uncle Neo finally speaks. He asks what their next move is. Joe replies calmly that they should rest, shower, and eat dinner. Looking at them steadily, he reminds them that they are still alive. After washing up, Bea walks out wearing some of Isabella's spare clothes. She tugs awkwardly at the tight fabric, asking if she looks weird. Right then, Mom calls out from the kitchen that dinner is ready. Bea thanks her and runs over. At the table, Joe's dad and the others are sharing warm laughs. Seeing Bea, Mom smiles warmly and tells her to sit right next to Joe. Bea sweetly agrees, while Olivia watches the cozy family scene from the side, her smile turning incredibly stiff. Once everyone is seated, Joe's dad raises his glass with a serious expression, announcing that they are all gathered. And you and I can definitely feel the tension here as he notes they are the last survivors of the village, completely cut off from the outside world. But then he smiles, raising his glass high. They survived the terrifying corpse tied together. He proudly declares that from this moment on, they are all one big family. They will fight together and truly live. But just as they raise their glasses to toast, Isabella's cup slips right out of her hand and shatters on the floor. Lucas immediately asks what is wrong. Isabella's eyes are completely bloodshot, sweat is pouring down her face, and she starts making creepy, guttural noises. William quickly readies his power, keeping a close eye on her. But before he can even react, Isabella lunges forward with a crazed, feral look on her face. She sinks her sharp teeth deep into William's arm. Yet, he stays completely calm, without a single trace of panic. Everyone starts shouting, desperately trying to snap Isabella out of it. Slowly, the terrifying red haze in her eyes fades away. William gently asks if she is finally back with them. She blinks in total confusion and looks around at the uneasy faces. Suddenly realizing what she just did, her face turns bright red from pure, agonizing social embarrassment. Seeing her awkward look, William sighs to himself and suddenly delivers a firm punch straight to her stomach. Slinging her over his shoulder, he tells the group he is taking her out for fresh air while she dramatically vomits over his back. He tells them to keep eating. They all nod, totally buying the excuse. Outside, Isabella crouches down, clutching her head in absolute shame, muttering that her reputation is ruined forever. William stands over her, scolding her for recklessly eating a core crystal. She got lucky this time, but that luck will not last forever. Isabella quietly apologizes, admitting she just desperately wanted superpowers. William looks at her helplessly, glad he felt her awakening energy early or things would have been worse. Otherwise, she would have absolutely terrified everyone. With a heavy sigh, he ruffles her hair and gently promises to teach her how to control this newly awakened power. He patiently guides her, telling her to close her eyes and visualize her power flowing like water through her body. This ability is now a natural part of her, an instinct as basic as breathing. Smiling, he tells her to use it to sense the world. She closes her eyes and follows his guidance. Tuning into the shifts around her, she whispers that she can see life. Opening her eyes, a gentle glow shines within them. Excitedly, she explains that she can feel life flowing everywhere and believes she can control it. She carefully channels this fresh life energy directly into the dirt below. Instantly, the potato plants sprout from the soil, fully maturing in mere seconds. Staring at the massive crop, Isabella gasps in disbelief, asking if she just accelerated their growth. William chuckles, confirming she did. And as he uses his own power to boost the crop, You and I can only wonder what crazy adventures await them next. So, you and I are jumping right back in as William stays quiet, leaving her sobbing in total despair. She wanted to shoot cosmic rays, summon storms, or turn into a magical girl, but instead, she got stuck farming. William sighed, asking what kind of weird nonsense filled her head all day. Deep down, though, William had a bad feeling. The odds of gaining powers from eating a crystal core were practically zero. Yet, both his older brother and Enzi actually succeeded. This was no coincidence. He knew it had to be linked to his own skills. The next morning, a loud rooster met its sudden end when William snatched it by the throat. Annoyed by the racket, William muttered a complaint before turning around to ask where the bird came from. Uncle Neo just chuckled, holding up a live hen he had also caught. They were from his own flock, meant for breeding. He explained that a few years ago, the local poultry farm was short-handed, so they gave him these birds as a thank you. He never ate them, just kept them as pets. Realizing the old farm was close by, the group had a quick talk and decided to head over to investigate. They hoped to find more birds or collect eggs that could still hatch. But on the way, Hang Tao eyed the rotting bodies nearby and nervously asked if they were about to jump up as zombies. Squinting closer, he frowned and noted that they looked like they had been butchered with some kind of sharp, brutal weapons. William just shrugged it off, saying zombies hated the daylight. As long as they stayed out of pitch-black basements, they would be perfectly fine. Moving cautiously into the factory, a nervous Huang Tao wondered aloud about the state of the outside world, praying it had not been completely destroyed like their home. Uncle Neo was highly optimistic, claiming human technology would save them soon, but listening to their chatter, William could only offer a grim, quiet warning. He warned them not to keep their hopes up. The actual threat was not just the undead, but the rapidly spreading virus, which brought total ruin beyond human imagination. Ultimately, they could only rely on themselves now. His heavy words immediately silenced both men, their faces instantly twisting with deep, heavy anxiety. Inside the building, Uncle Neo searched a cabinet and pulled out a fresh batch of eggs, excitedly explaining they could hatch them if they kept the temperature right. Now pay close attention, because things are about to get really creepy. The birds were entirely gone, leaving only eggs, leaving everyone deeply puzzled. Even if they had died, there should at least be bones or feathers left behind. Suddenly, a massive, deafening honk shattered the silence. William spun around to find an absolute giant of a white goose blocking the doorway. The giant bird flapped its wings in a bizarre greeting. Thrilled by the sight of fresh meat, Hango yelled at William to pass him a sack right away. He was an expert catcher from his days working at the old farm, after all. Snatching the sack from William, Huang Tao confidently marched straight toward his prey. With a couple of quick, skilled movements, he successfully stuffed the creature right into the sack. But just as he turned around to brag about his perfect catch, the docile bird suddenly mutated, opening a massive, bloodthirsty maw. It lunged directly at his face with unbelievable, terrifying speed. Instantly, William triggered his skills and dashed in, landing a heavy blow that sent the monster flying. Hang Tao just stood there, completely frozen, trying to process how he had almost lost his head. William yelled for them to retreat immediately, and they scrambled out of the warehouse. But the moment they hit the open air, a bizarre sound echoed. He quickly held back his panic-stricken friends, his eyes warily scanning the yard. Suddenly, dozens of mutated geese came charging at them from every single direction. These monsters were insanely fast, moving like a blurry white wave. Before they could even react, the horde was closing in. Luckily, William spotted a tight alley nearby. Without pausing, he ushered them toward the narrow path. But his companions were just ordinary, unpowered humans, and their stamina quickly bottomed out, causing their running speed to drop dangerously low. William saw they were completely gassed out. Looking back, those crazy mutated geese were gaining on them with terrifyingly high speed. Left with no alternative, William activated a copied skill called Growth, which he stole from Isabella. Channeling his inner life energy, he prepared to strike. Massive, thick vines erupted from the ground, sealing the tight corridor and creating a solid defensive wall that blocked the flock completely. Turning to tell his exhausted friends to keep moving, his heart immediately sank as an even larger flock blocked their exit ahead. Cornered from both directions, he dragged them into an old, decaying dormitory building nearby. Let's pause for a second, because we can clearly see these guys are completely spent, gasping for breath against the dirty walls. Peering out at the courtyard, completely crawling with monsters, Uncle Neo sighed heavily, telling William to save himself since they were surely doomed anyway. Hearing those heartbreaking words, William's expression hardened. He blamed himself for bringing them into this and swore he would get them out alive. But inwardly, he was desperately calculating his next move. If he pushed his blood butcher skill to the absolute limit while carrying both of them, could they escape? If he failed midway, they were dead. As he prepared for a suicidal run, Hang Tao yelled that he found a working computer with electricity still running. William turned, utterly baffled. His fingers flew across the keyboard, shouting that the local intranet was still functioning. Just then, massive, bone-rattling bangs started shaking the heavy entrance. William threw his weight against the wood, yelling for him to hurry up because the frame was splitting. Hang Tao desperately begged for just 3 minutes. Gritting his teeth, William swore to buy them those exact 3 minutes. He knew damn well that the fragile door would never hold them off for that long. If they wanted to live, he needed to go on the offensive. Activating his combat state, he unleashed his inner strength and slammed his fist forward. The metal door flew off its hinges like an absolute missile, instantly crushing the pack of beasts into a bloody, mangled paste. William stepped out, holding the broken handle. More screeching monsters lunged at him. Narrowing his eyes, he held up the heavy door like a massive shield, absorbing their furious, brutal assault. In a split second, he concentrated all his power into his left fist and punched the door hard. The explosive shockwave blasted down the hall, completely vaporizing every beast. As the noise finally settled, he exhaled, hoping he had bought them enough precious time. But a second later, he spotted something incredibly horrifying happening in the dark. The shredded remains of the geese were twitching and fusing back together. Inside, Uncle Neo screamed, asking if the computer work was finished since William was struggling alone. He typed furiously, shouting that he was on the very last step. As you and I watch that final file download, we can only hope William survives this nightmare. All right, you and I are about to watch William face a literal nightmare. A massive, grotesque beast made entirely of fused, mutated goose flesh. This blood-soaked abomination let out a spine-chilling roar from its gaping mouth, slamming with terrifying force into the iron door. William braced himself, feeling the massive impact rattle his bones. His heart sank. This is bad. The blood butcher's shield is about to shatter. In an instant, the force sent him flying backward. He crashed hard onto the dirt, coughing up blood as his strength drained away completely. Struggling to stand, William saw Uncle Neo step forward. Clutching a long wooden staff, the old man faced the grotesque flesh monster completely alone. With fierce determination, Uncle Neo yelled out, "William, take Xiao Huang and get out of here. I will hold it off." Wiping blood from his lip, William tried to protest, but Uncle Neo snapped back, screaming, "Do not hesitate. If we waste another second, we all die here." But before Neo could say more, William forced himself up, stepped in front, and pulled him back. In a quiet, resolute voice, he muttered, "I promise to get everyone home safe, and I am not leaving anyone behind." Suddenly, William's eyes began to glow. One burned with the crimson energy of the blood butcher, while the other shone with emerald life force. Standing calm, he faced the charging beast once more, channeling both powers directly into his right hand. Feeling life and destruction intertwine, he knew with absolute certainty. This time he would win. In a heartbeat, William charged straight ahead, throwing himself directly at the flesh monster. This insane fusion of his twin abilities unleashed a tidal wave of power unlike anything he had ever felt. With one devastating, explosive blow, he shattered the creature into pieces. As the monstrous remains rained down, the glowing power inside him slowly faded away. Instead, a crushing wave of exhaustion hit. His body completely refused to respond. He could not even lift a finger. But just as he thought he could catch his breath, a piercing honk echoed through the corridor. He watched in horror as a whole new swarm of mutant geese charged right at them. Now pay attention, because just as disaster loomed and a helpless William forced his limp body to stand, loud music suddenly blared from the speakers outside. The lunging mutant geese instantly froze mid-air when the song started playing. After a brief second of hesitation, they spun around and stampeded right out of the building. Right then, Huang Tao rushed out of the room, yelling in a panic, "Uncle Neo, William, are you guys okay?" A baffled Uncle Neo asked, "Why did they just leave? And what is that broadcast?" "Xiao Huang, what did you do?" Huang Tao grinned with relief, exclaiming, "It worked. I managed to hack into the facility's speakers and play their old feeding music." He explained that when the farm was running, they played that exact track during feeding hours. The birds were literally trained to run for food whenever they heard it. "We got incredibly lucky, or we would have been toast. I am never returning to this cursed farm." After that, William and the crew packed up the car and drove home. Sitting in the back, Uncle Neo carefully held a basket of eggs with massive relief. At least these survived. From the driver's seat, Huang Tao laughed, asking when he even stole those eggs. Uncle Neo smiled, admitting that while everyone was distracted catching that goose, he had quietly slipped some eggs into his pockets. But Huang Tao, still uneasy, asked if they might hatch into mutant monsters. Uncle Neo waved it off confidently, saying they are safe because they are over a week old, meaning they were laid before the infection even began. Let's pause for a second. While William sat in the truck staring at his palm, replaying that insane power merger in his mind, the group safely returned home and held a major meeting to set new roles. William's father, Lucas, and Huang Tao took over the security team, handling active patrols and setting up defensive structures. Isabella and Uncle Neo took charge of farming, using her powers to supercharge crop growth. Meanwhile, William's mom and Olivia handled critical resource management, organizing inventory and food distribution. Finally, William and Bea teamed up for exploration, tasked with scouting the dangerous outside world and bringing back vital supplies. With their tasks set, William headed to his room to prepare for the next run, promising himself that this time they would be ready for anything. He would never repeat the deadly mistakes made at the poultry farm. But as he packed his gear, a soft voice spoke from behind, and a gentle hand tugged at the hem of his shirt. Pressing her forehead gently against his back, Olivia whispered in a shaking voice, "William, please take me with you." He turned around, completely puzzled. Olivia's eyes filled with pure terror as she stammered that she was terrified. William frowned, but she leaned closer, whispering that she just wanted to stay by his side. She pleaded frantically, telling him about a safe, supply-filled shelter nearby. She argued that if it was just the two of them, they could easily survive until rescue finally arrived. "I will do whatever you want," she begged, "just forget the rest of them." But when she looked up, she froze. William was staring down at her with a cold, lifeless gaze. Without saying a single word, William grabbed his backpack and headed for the door, his voice cutting through the air like ice. "You want me to abandon my family? Say that once more, and I will personally throw you out to survive on your own." He paused, his voice turning freezing cold. "Do not forget, you betrayed me first." Stunned by his brutal honesty, Olivia stood completely frozen. Stepping outside, William found Bea waiting quietly in the hallway. Before he could say a word, she spoke up softly, "Ready to go." Together, they headed out, arriving at a remote, hidden fish farm far off the main roads. Bea looked at the eerie, empty landscape and frowned. "This place is too isolated. No tourist would ever come out here. So who built it?" William answered casually that Jack did, and he had only found it by accident. Hearing Jack's name, Bea hesitated before asking why he hated William so much. William let out a light laugh, explaining that their rivalry went all the way back to school. Jack loved throwing his family's wealth around, acting like a king. Everyone bowed down to him except me. I challenged him at every turn and crushed him every single time. He paused, adding that when he got close to Olivia, Jack forcefully snatched her away just to rub it in his face. Bea frowned, murmuring that Jack did not even like her anyway. I heard he openly humiliated her. William shrugged, replying that Jack only wanted to hurt him and did not care about Olivia. As for her, she made her choice. "It is none of my concern anymore." Bea hesitated, asking if they were once engaged. William sighed, explaining helplessly that it was just something arranged by the adults. As she stared at the eerily calm lake, a sudden wave of dread washed over Bea. Despite the quiet water, an inexplicable feeling of danger began to creep up on her. Shortly after, they uncovered a hidden underground bunker. Standing before a massive steel freezer door, Bea gasped, "Wow, this is amazing storage. But is not this heavy door a bit too much? How did you find this?" He casually replied he heard it from Jack. "Trust me, we are about to find out if this risky gamble pays off." Let's dive back in as William realizes something wild. In his past life, he only found this frozen hideout after the zombie horde struck, surviving on the secret stash. But right now, the power is still on. He stares at the lights, realizing his actions already changed the future. Stopping that first zombie wave actually rewrote history. The timeline is shifting, or maybe other survivors are lurking nearby. But before he can think, a blood-curdling shriek echoes from deep inside the freezer. It is Bea. William yells, asking what is wrong, only to find her trembling on the floor. She gasps, trying to calm down, saying she just got scared. She points a shaking finger at a bizarre deep-sea monster head, whispering how terrifying it looks. Suddenly, the creature's dead eyes flicker, glowing with a dark red light. Before she can even blink, William darts forward, slamming his hand down onto the hideous fish monster. William freezes as he realizes this is a mutant fish zombie. Even worse, his heavy strike did absolutely zero damage to its armored skull. Suddenly, it opens its massive mouth, blasting him with a high-pressure water jet that slams him hard against the freezing wall. Gritting his teeth through the pain, he gauges the impact. This thing is not a normal monster, it has the raw power of a tier 2 zombie. Terrified for him, Bea rushes over, shielding him with her own body as she cries out his name. William forces himself up, shouting at her to run because they cannot win this face-to-face. But as he speaks, the heavy metal freezer door begins closing on its own. His stomach drops. No time to panic about the exit. They have to kill this underwater nightmare first. Gripping his long sword, William charges headfirst at the beast. He swings with everything he has, aiming right for the body, but his blade just slides off the solid scales. He barely leaves a single scratch on that heavy armor. He leaps back to safety. Catching his breath, he focuses, letting his inner power surge through his veins again. Pay attention here, this is where he looks for a gap in the armor. It is his only shot at survival, and then he spots it. The gills. They are completely exposed, with 0 scales. Pivoting mid-air, William slides behind the monster and thrusts his sword directly into the soft flesh. But right before the strike lands, disgusting slimy tentacles burst from the gills, wrapping around his blade and locking it completely in place. William freezes in shock. These nasty, writhing tentacles do not actually belong to the fish zombie itself. They are parasitic mutant worms living inside of it, acting as an automated shield. Exploiting his hesitation, the monster whips its massive tail, sending William crashing hard into the heavy debris on the floor, leaving him dazed and gasping for air. He lies helpless in the ruins. The monster closes in, charging another deadly blast of high-pressure water in its jaws to finish him off. Thinking fast, William grabs a loose electrical wire on the ground and shoves it directly into the monster's open mouth. High-voltage current explodes through the beast, paralyzing it. Seizing the moment, William leaps up and delivers a brutal final strike, ending the creature once and for all. But even with the threat dead, William's mind is heavy. His rebirth has completely derailed the timeline he once knew, shifting things in unpredictable ways. I know what you are thinking, maybe it is just a coincidence, but a tier 2 mutant hidden inside a freezer? No way. This is deliberate. Someone is orchestrating all of this. Bea's worried voice breaks his thoughts, asking if he is all right. He looks back, telling her he is fine, but they must leave. We have to move, now. But no matter how hard Bea rattles the handle, the massive door will not budge. Panicking, she cries out, asking what is wrong with it. The door is stuck. William's face darkens as he whispers that someone locked them in from the outside. Immediately, he prepares his dual powers, combining his energy. He fuses the raw destruction of Blood Butcher with life power right into his fist. He slams the door with a devastating punch, shaking the entire chamber. When the dust clears, the heavy door remains completely intact. Not a single scratch. William grimaces, not expecting this vault to be so incredibly tough. It is built like a literal bank vault. Since they are trapped underground, that door is their only exit, and right now, it is their biggest trap. William gasps for air, clenching his teeth. That was his strongest attack, and it did not even dent the door. He needs to catch his breath. Bea steps up to comfort him, telling him to rest while she searches the ice storage again. She hopes to find another exit, but she returns empty-handed, her head hanging low in disappointment. Sitting next to him, she whispers that there is no other way out. William is not surprised, but he knows the temperature is already dropping to 18 below zero. Even if they survive the freezing cold, they will eventually suffocate. They cannot afford to waste another second here. Pushing himself up, William prepares to unleash his dual powers one last time. Suddenly, Bea pulls out a glowing zombie crystal core, offering to consume it to awaken her own powers just like him. William's eyes widen in absolute horror. Instantly, he grabs her hand, shouting that she is taking an insane risk. He demands to know if she understands the danger, but she cuts him off with a quiet, firm voice. She tells him he cannot keep destroying his own body. His energy is not infinite, and time is ticking. Looking him dead in the eye, she says what they are both thinking. If they stay like this, they will both die. She wants to take one final gamble, betting she will survive the virus and awaken a power to save them. William's heart wavers. He remembers her talent in his past life with sensory perception. But in this altered timeline, will she get the same power? After a heavy silence, William lets go of her hand, forcing a weak smile as he asks if she is ready. He knows her bravery is real, and relying on his strength alone is not going to cut it anymore. Why hesitate now? Bea looks down at the crystal, whispering that with zero hesitation, she swallows the virus core. Meanwhile, deep in the nearby woods, William's father and Lucas are frantically shouting their names. But since William kept their location a secret, they are searching completely blind, having no clue which path to take. As darkness falls, the tension grows thick for his father and Lucas. Then, a massive zombie roar echoes. Trust me, You won't want to miss what comes next. His father turns pale, shocked that zombies are active already. Standing beside him, William's ally frowns, muttering that something is horribly wrong with this forest. All right, you and I are jumping right into the chaos as a chilling scream cuts through the air. William Ming freezes, his face pale. It was Hangtao, and from behind a nearby tree, a dark figure watches their every move. Inside the freezing ice storage, a quiet groan wakes William. He spins around to find Bea, her skin steaming with fever and her face contorted in pure agony. Terrified, William rushes to her side. What is happening? Why are you so hot? Shaking all over, Bea claws at her clothes, gasping hoarsely that she has no idea. My entire body is burning up. It hurts so much. Instantly, William grabs handfuls of ice, pressing them against her skin to desperately cool her down before she completely loses control. A few agonizing minutes pass. Stripped down to her undergarments, the scorching heat radiating from her body finally begins to cool down. Leaning in close, William asks if she is okay. Bea gives a weak nod, but her voice sounds completely different. William, I see them. So many zombies. William forces a reassuring smile and tells her not to panic because her latent ability is just waking up. But inside, he knows the grim truth. She has unlocked her perception ability, meaning fighting their way out is suicide. Then, pointing a trembling finger at the ground, Bea whispers that she sees something else beneath the floor. A massive horde is right below them. William tenses up. An underground tunnel, maybe. He starts searching the area in a frantic rush. And there it is, a hidden hatch in the corner of the freezer. Moving quickly, they climb down the ladder into the pitch-black, freezing tunnel below. But as they go deeper, a terrifying roar echoes from the dark ahead. William turns to Bea, his face deadly serious. It is pitch black. I cannot see a thing, so I am relying on you. Bea points to herself, completely shocked. Me? You want me to guide you? Gripping his long blade, William takes a combat stance and smiles warmly at her. Do not worry, you can do this. Seeing his absolute trust, Bea swallows her fear and nods. She unleashes her new sensory powers, pushing her mind deep into the shadows to pinpoint the monsters lurking nearby. One by one, she calls out their positions. Guided by her voice, William strikes blindly into the deep dark, landing flawless, lethal blows and cutting down the monsters with absolute ease. Thanks to their incredible synergy, the dark tunnel is cleared in no time. Moving forward, they finally reach the very end of the underground passage. They emerge into a cramped, dusty storage room packed with broken junk. Working together, the two begin searching every corner for a way out. But there is no exit to the surface. Just as hope begins to fade, William spots a detail. He points to a dark opening and whispers, "Look, there's a waterway over there. It should lead directly to the main fish pond." Instantly, they dive into the freezing water, swimming through the flooded channel. For a second, Bea actually thinks they are finally safe. But out of nowhere, a colossal, mutated fish monster charges through the dark water. Before she can even react, its massive jaws clamp right around her. The beast instantly drags her deep into the murky abyss. William lunges forward, grabbing her hand and pulling with all his strength. But the creature's bite is far too strong, trapping them in a deadly, desperate struggle. Feeling the monster's unstoppable pull, Bea realizes that if they stay like this, she will only pull William down with her. Giving him a painful, bittersweet smile under his horrified, desperate gaze, she forces her hand free, letting herself sink into the dark, freezing depths. William watches in absolute horror as she vanishes. Suddenly, his mind flashes to his past life, where he abandoned her to die alone. But he refuses to let history repeat itself. In this life, he swore he would never let her die again. Swimming with every ounce of strength he has, he charges straight toward the monster. Triggering his growth ability, massive water plants explode from the muddy bottom. The thick vines shoot upward, instantly wrapping around the giant fish. Trapped in the vines, the beast is completely pinned. From inside its mouth, Bea weakly opens her eyes, catching a blurry glimpse of William swimming through the dark water toward her. She tries to call his name, but the darkness takes her again. By the time she finally wakes up, her entire head is spinning. Sitting up in a panic, she screams his name. Hearing her voice, William turns around with a warm smile. "You are finally awake," he says gently, handing her a can of hot food. "Eat this to get your energy back. As for the fish around here, let us just say they are definitely not on the menu tonight." Bea takes the can, whispering a quiet thank you. But pay attention here, she hesitates, asking what happened to the giant fish. "I only remember you swimming toward me," she says. "It is resting at the bottom, likely feeding the other fish." He shrugs, adding that, while it was huge, It was nothing compared to that mutated creature they fought back in the freezer. His face darkens as he warns her that these mutated fish will soon overrun the entire water supply. It is happening globally, and there is no stopping it. We cannot change what is coming. After a heavy silence, Bea softly calls his name. Her voice is full of deep emotion as she looks at him, saying, "Back in. School. You were always so quiet and hard to talk to. We barely ever spoke. But since the world ended, you have risked your life to save me over and over. Why?" William looks down, avoiding her gaze. "At first, I only saved you because your sensory powers could protect my family," he says quietly. Hearing those cold words, Bea's heart completely sinks. She forces a small, painful smile, unable to hide her heartbreak. "I see," she whispers, "so that is all it was." A heavy, awkward silence settles between them. Eventually, blushing red, she softly asks, "So what about now?" Now, watch his reaction here. William looks up, locks eyes, instantly panics, and starts fumbling for words that just will not come. Amused by his panic, Bea turns away shyly, asking when they are leaving. Clearing his throat to regain his cool, William replies, "Right now. With your radar powers, we can easily slip past any zombies." Using her incredible sensory abilities as their guide, they slip past every danger on the streets and make it back to safety. The absolute second they step through the door, William Ying rushes over, throwing her arms around him while crying out how terrified she was. Smiling gently, William softly pats her back to calm her down. "All right, that is enough drama," he teases, asking if everything is safe. But hearing this, her warm smile vanishes completely. She lowers her voice, looking deadly serious. "You two need to follow me right now." Stepping inside, William is instantly met with agonizing screams. Off to the side stand his father and brother, their expressions absolutely grim and heavy with dread. A heavy dread fills William's chest. Looking over, he sees Hang Tao tied securely to the sofa. His expression turns deadly cold as he demands to know what happened. Lucas, his older brother, steps forward with a heavy sigh. "On our way to rescue you both, we were completely ambushed by a massive zombie horde," he explains with a bitter smile. "We tried to hunt a second-tier zombie for its crystal core to cure him, but failed. Now, you and I are left staring at Uncle Neo, looking up at William with total, broken despair. Can Huang Tao still be saved?" he asked, trembling. "Let us dive right into this nightmare." William looked at Huang Tao, whose eyes were bloodshot and face was twisted with veins. The virus had already fully invaded. Shoving a crystal core into him now would not work. He would just turn into another mindless monster like Jack. While William struggled to speak, Huang Tao found a brief moment of sanity. He gritted his teeth and whispered, "I do not want to turn. Do not hesitate. Just make it quick." William lowered his head, hands shaking on his blade. His mind was a storm of agony. But as he clenched his jaw, he suddenly sensed that something was dangerously wrong lurking behind him. Instantly activating his skills, he whipped around to face the threat. He turned and saw his mother shaking violently, her eyes overflowing with pain and inner conflict. He grabbed her arm, pulled her away, and snatched a crystal core from his pocket. His voice was frantic. "Mom, quickly, consume this." She just stared at it, completely lost. "Is this what Huang Tao took? Where did you get it?" But William had no time to explain. "I found it at the fish farm. Trust me, Mom. Eat it now." She went to speak, but a low, agonizing growl from Huang Tao cut her off. Lucas screamed in panic. "William, Huang Tao is at his limit. He is turning." William froze, cursing silently. It was too late. He knew if they waited for his mother's powers to awaken, Huang Tao would be gone. He had to make the ultimate choice right now. Moving on pure instinct, William raised his blade, ready to put Huang Tao out of his misery. But just before the strike landed, an insane wave of energy erupted from behind him. Startled, William whipped around. His mother was floating in midair, her body glowing with a brilliant, holy aura that completely illuminated the room. With a gentle wave of her hand, a beam of brilliant light shot toward Huang Tao. Instantly, the zombie virus eating away at his body began to melt away. His bloodshot eyes cleared up, returning to normal. A moment later, Huang Tao looked at his completely healed hands in absolute shock, yelling, "Look at me. I am cured." But no one was looking at him. Every single person was staring at William's mother, their faces frozen in disbelief at the miracle that just happened right before them. It was unreal. She had not only awakened a god-tier ability, but she also looked younger, practically glowing with vitality. Seeing her successfully awaken her purification powers, William exhaled a massive sigh of relief. He explained to the shocked group that her holy light could completely cleanse the zombie virus from any infected host. But if someone had already fully turned into a zombie, this light would act as a deadly weapon. When asked how he knew she would get this power, William shrugged. I just sensed it. To be honest, he did not know how his perception worked either. He only knew the feeling was identical to when he felt his older brother and Enzi awaken their skills. This sensory power was growing stronger every day, but it had clear limits. For instance, he could not sense or copy Bea's unique ability. For now, William assumed his copying powers only worked on blood relatives. The more of his family members who awakened, the stronger he would ultimately become. Once everyone went to rest, William turned to Bea, his voice dropping to a serious whisper. Let us begin. Luna, can you scan the area for nearby zombies? Bea nodded, releasing her sensing domain. As her radar expanded outward, she rapidly mapped out the positions of the undead. Leaning in close, she whispered the details to William. There are about 100 near the minefield woods and another 100 in the back hills. William immediately asked, are there any second-tier ones? She nodded, yes, 3 of them. William's mind raced. 1 for Dad, 1 for Huang Tao, and 1 for Uncle No. If they could get those cores, their family combat power would absolutely skyrocket. Just as William plotted his hunt, Bea gasped, her face pale. Now pay attention here. The zombies. They are moving. Pushing her limits, her voice grew even more panicked. They are all converging on a single spot. Scanning further out, she suddenly saw something that made her blood run cold. Right in the middle of the massive horde stood a single human figure. When Bea finally got a clear look at his face, she froze, completely paralyzed with shock. It is Jack. The zombies are all heading to him. William's face darkened. This was impossible. He had literally watched Jack burn to ashes right in front of him. Could it actually be the same guy? Gritting his teeth, William cursed, damn it. So Jack was the one who locked us in the ice storage. Everything clicked, including that forest ambush. That had to be his work as well. Anxious, Bea asked, what is the plan? Do we warn the others and build defenses? William fell silent before answering in a cold, heavy voice. At this rate, Jack needs a day to build his army. You and I both know we cannot just wait around. A deadly glint flashed in his eyes. Instead of waiting for them to attack, we strike first. Catch him completely off guard. Deep in the misty forest, William stood tall, calling out with a voice that sliced through the cold air. Jack, I know you are hiding here. Come out and face me. Atop a massive boulder nearby, a hunched figure slowly stood up to his full height. It was indeed Jack, the guy who was supposed to be Ashes. The mutated man sneered, glaring down at William. Well, I did not expect you to walk straight to your grave. William's face stayed stone cold. Is that so? He replied calmly. But were you not the one playing dead during our last fight? Jack's face twisted in pure rage. Shut up, he roared. Without another word, he leaped forward, sharp claws slashing through the air directly toward William's throat. William's eyes narrowed as he deftly dodged to the side. With one swift motion, his sword slashed deep across Jack's chest, exposing the ugly, unhealed burn scars covering his torso. In that instant, everything clicked. A smug smile appeared on William's face. I knew it. Your injuries never healed. That is why you used cheap tricks in the ice storage instead of fighting me fairly. Jack, you are nothing but a coward. Jack's face contorted with anger as he growled back, do not get cocky. Even injured, I can crush you. You think you can face me alone? But before he could finish, a massive explosion rocked the forest behind them. Jack froze, a wave of pure dread washing over him while William grinned. Let me guess. You wanted to brag about your zombie army? Too bad. I knew they were coming. My team already intercepted them. This is the end for you. Jack, this time you are dead. Meanwhile, near the blast zone, William's father stood high on a tree branch, looking down at a field covered in burning, shattered remnants of the undead. Laughing like a madman, he roared, Surprise! I have been waiting for you ugly freaks. Now, burn to ashes. On the ground, William's mother watched the approaching chaos with an expressionless face. As another massive wave of zombies rushed from the tree line, she calmly unleashed her devastating purification energy. The holy light ignited a ghostly blue fire, turning the monsters to ash in seconds. And trust me, you and I are going to want to see what happens to Jack next. All right, you and I are diving right back into the action where William's mother is testing her newly awakened powers with a smug smile. Feeling her insane surge of strength, her husband wraps her in a proud hug. You are amazing, honey, he laughs. But she just shoves him away with a look of pure disgust, tapping her earpiece to contact Bea instead. After reporting that Zone A is completely cleared of zombies, she asks for their next target. With her radar skills, Bea already mapped the whole area. Hearing that first group is wiped out, Bea directs them to another pack of 24 zombies 1 kilometer northwest, making William's mother pause and soften her voice. "How are things on your end, Luna? Is everyone safe?" Bea quickly reassures her, saying they are safely hidden near the cellar with guards on standby. Next, she checks in on Lucas, who's fighting solo. "Are you holding up okay, brother?" Having fully mastered his powers, Lucas just laughs and replies, "Relax. These monsters are barely enough for a warm-up." Hearing his cocky reply, William's dad cracks up, joking about how the zombies never stood a single chance against them. Getting blindsided is exactly what they deserve. Lucas chuckles, adding that honestly, none of this would work without Bea acting as their brilliant coordinator. "You are officially our commander now, Luna." Hearing the high praise, Bea blushes, whispering that it is actually a team effort. "I only played a small role." Meanwhile, a heavily injured Jack is getting absolutely pulverized by William, struggling to block the devastating strikes. Jack is losing his mind in sheer disbelief. How did William get this incredibly strong? Shaking with absolute fury, Jack screams that he will never lose, but William just sneers back. "Your forces are completely crushed on all sides, and you can barely even breathe. Jack, do you honestly think you can turn this fight around now?" Channeling raw energy into his palms, William declares in a chilling voice that it is finally over. Jack drops his head in silence, but then suddenly snarls back with absolute madness. Now, pay attention here, because just as William is about to finish him, Bea screams a warning through the comms. 3 second-tier mutant monsters are rushing him. William spins around only to find 3 giant, mutated rat-like beasts charging straight at him. Snapping back to the fight, his face darkens as he glares coldly at Jack. "Are you really relying on some overgrown rat zombies to save your life?" Jack just laughs wickedly, telling William to pay close attention. In a sickening move, Jack rips the glowing crystal core straight out of the beast's skull and swallows it whole, eating the other 2 instantly. A massive explosion of raw power erupts from him. Smiling like a demon, he looks up and declares this is his true form. William can only stare at the newly evolved 3rd-tier monster. Sensing extreme danger, William pushes his power to the absolute limit. He dashes forward like lightning, sword in hand, aiming for a lethal strike, but Jack does not even blink. Raising one hand, Jack effortlessly blocks the blade. With a brutal flick of his palm, he sends William flying through the air to crash violently onto the hard ground. Jack mocks him, asking if that is his full power. Refusing to back down, William bounces back, channeling everything into a heavy punch right to Jack's chest. But the blow does absolutely 0 damage. Laughing coldly, Jack taunts him, asking if this pathetic display is truly the limit of his supposedly legendary strength. Grabbed by the head, William is brutally slammed straight into the dirt by Jack. A massive cloud of dust and debris explodes outward from the impact. Yet, when the smoke clears, William is completely gone. Only a massive crater remains, glowing with faint traces of vibrant emerald green energy. Stunned, Jack realizes his target has a hidden underground escape trick. His face twists in psychotic rage as he roars that it does not matter, promising to drag him out of whatever hole he is hiding in. "I will tear you apart piece by piece, then slaughter your entire family." Meanwhile, deep inside the nearby forest, things are getting desperate. William crawls out of a hollow tree trunk, bruised, battered, and covered in dirt. He is gasping for air, completely drained after using up all his energy. Remembering Jack's terrifying aura sends a cold shiver down his spine. This is the true, overwhelming power of a 3rd-tier mutant. In his past life, he never had to face a monster like this head-on. I know what you are thinking. Can he win? Even if his brother and mother join the fight, William calculates they still might not stand a chance against this beast. But his eyes harden with resolve. He must find a way to kill Jack before he loses control completely, or the consequences will be absolutely catastrophic. Suddenly, an insane pressure crushes down, stealing the very air from his lungs. Gasping, William looks up at the night sky in pure shock. The normal white moon has transformed into a blood-red orb, casting a terrifying glow. Underneath it, a brilliant blue wave of energy rises slowly from the horizon. Then, a blinding crimson beam collides violently with the blue light, sending massive shockwaves through the air that shake him to the very core. As the massive explosion roars, a rainbow-colored halo of energy expands across the sky at a terrifying speed. Squinting through the blinding light, William spots 2 mysterious, shadowy figures standing inside the blast. But before he can process this, Jack's mocking voice laughs right behind him. "You underestimate me, William." Before he can turn, Jack's giant mutated tail whips out, blasting him straight through the air. Slamming hard against a giant boulder, the impact rattles his bones. Drain of all energy, William collapses, completely unable to stand back up. Jack slowly walks over, crouches down, and presses a mocking finger to William's forehead, laughing at how he has completely run out of tricks. If you are out of options, then just die. But as Jack raises his hand for the kill, that massive halo of light washes over them. Instantly, their bodies freeze solid, paralyzed by an invisible power. No matter how hard William struggles, he cannot budge a single muscle, as if time itself has completely stopped. But he soon realizes that while he cannot move physically, his mental powers still work. Quickly, William channels all his remaining energy right into his forehead. A laser-sharp beam of energy blasts out, piercing straight through Jack's skull just as the freezing light fades away. Releasing his hold, Jack screams. Clutching his bleeding face, Jack screams in agony and stumbles back. Terrified, the monster flees deep into the dark forest, while William can only watch him escape. William's body finally gives out, and he collapses onto the cold ground. Guided by Bea's directions, Lucas arrives shortly after. Seeing him beaten, Lucas rushes over. William weakly gasps, "Forget about me. You have to chase Jack." And that is where we leave it for today. All right, you and I are diving right into a world where William knew things had to end. This apocalyptic reality was growing deadlier by the second. Those two figures under the blood moon were high-tier ability users, terrifying beings who should not even exist yet. In his previous life, after the brutal zombie apocalypse began, William was the sole survivor of Qingxian village. Then, a team of survivors discovered him. Their leader, Ivers, looked down at William like he was a mere bug. In an icy, mocking voice, he asked how many zombies were left in Qingxian village. William looked up weakly and told them there were close to 1,000, warning them it was highly dangerous. But the entire squad just burst out laughing, mocking his warning. Only 1,000? What a useless coward. The leader sneered, demandingly asking about the strongest zombie in the area, wanting to know its tier and numbers. William hesitated, lowering his gaze before whispering that there was only one, a tier 4 monster. Hearing this, the leader's eyes gleamed with greed. A tier 4 zombie was a prize. Pointing lazily toward a clearing, the leader ordered William to go over and put on a collar. William looked and saw dozens of humans bound to a dead tree, wearing chains and filled with absolute despair. They had been reduced to literal slaves. Refusing to accept this miserable fate, fury exploded in William's chest. He bolted, running as fast as he could into the deep forest. But he did not get far. A tidal wave of crushing energy slammed right toward him, instantly exploding into a wall of roaring fire that cut off his escape route completely. The leader walked up with a sickening grin, mocking him. "Go ahead and run," he sneered, boasting that high-tier ability users like them were the chosen elites. The new God-blessed race. He coldly sneered that trash like William was born to serve. Back in the present, William arrived at the exact crater where the blue light crashed yesterday. Looking at the ruined landscape, he knew this destruction meant high-tier ability users were already arriving. The clock was ticking. 5:58. His past life taught him that these self-proclaimed elites were just monsters wearing human skin. The chaos they would cause was far more terrifying than any zombie apocalypse. He had to find the truth before history repeated its tragic cycle. Tracking the scorched ground, William quickly discovered a massive crater sitting at the bottom of the hill. Look closely now, because what sits inside this deep crater is a massive white crystal that immediately locks his attention. As William walked closer to the crystal, a bizarre sensation washed over him. A raw, primal instinct demanded he consume the object. Slowly, his fingers reached out to touch the surface. Suddenly, extreme danger signals flashed in his brain. His reflexes kicked in. Activating his power in a split second, he leaped back, creating space between himself and the crystal. Eyes narrowing, he barked out, asking who was hiding there. Right then, a dark figure materialized behind him. The stranger chuckled, noting William was the only survivor left in the area. Looking lazily at William's glowing fingers aimed straight at his throat, the man smirked. "Not bad," he noted, praising his quick reflexes and obvious raw talent. William stayed completely stone-faced, lethal energy buzzing at his fingertips. "Back off," he ordered in a frozen voice. "I am only going to ask you once more. Who are you?" The middle-aged man just laughed, waving his hands defensively. Fine," he said casually, introducing himself as Takahashi, a Tier 3 ability user. Before he could even finish, William lunged. Channeling power into his fist, he threw a lethal punch straight at Takahashi's jaw. But the man did not even flinch. Takahashi simply released a tiny ripple of his own power. Instantly, the air around them distorted. In a literal blink of an eye, he completely vanished from the spot. While William braced for a counter, Takahashi's voice echoed from right next to the crystal. "Relax, kid," he sighed, telling him he was way too tense. "It was just a harmless joke, no need to fight." Pointing at the massive crystal, he explained he was not there for William or his family. He only wanted that specific object, the original core, he said. Hearing this, William eased up slightly, though he was still heavily confused, asking what an original core even meant. Takahashi stared in pure disbelief before laughing. "You actually do not know? I assumed you came seeking treasure." Checking William out, he shook his head with a smirk. "I know what you are thinking, a gaming tutorial in an apocalypse." "Well," Takahashi chuckles and asks if William has ever played an online game. "This crystal is basically a classic leveling up item," he explained, snapping his fingers. "Ordinary zombie cores can make you stronger, but that cheap method only gets you to tier 4 at best. To break past that limit, you absolutely need these original cores." Saying this, he tapped his finger gently against the giant crystal. A palm-sized chunk broke off, floating right into William's open hand. Staring down at the glowing shard, William narrowed his eyes and flatly pointed out that this gift definitely was not free. "What do you want from me?" Takahashi smirked, giving an easygoing reply. "Smart kid," he said, suggesting he might need a favor one day, so William should focus on leveling up. As he spoke, Takahashi's body began to fade into the warped air. Right before completely vanishing, he left behind one final creepy message, remembering something. He mentioned that gods actually exist in this world. And just like that, both Takahashi and the massive core vanished into thin air. William stood completely frozen, those ominous parting words echoing heavily in his mind. He muttered under his breath, trying to dismiss it, telling himself the stranger was just completely insane. He tried to force himself to believe that divine beings were a myth, but suddenly, he remembered the terrifying words spoken by that survivor leader in his previous life. High-tier ability users are the new chosen ones of the gods. Slowly, the deep disbelief William had held onto for so long began to fracture as he whispered to himself. If gods truly exist, is this entire apocalypse their fault? As these thoughts overwhelmed him, a glowing blue light began seeping up from the shattered ground beneath his feet. A sudden surge of energy forced William to tense up. He glared ahead, his eyes locking onto the crater's center as a massive pillar of blinding blue light erupted straight into the sky. Once the blinding light dimmed, he spotted something floating in the middle of the pit. It was a strange crystal fragment pulsing with an eerie blue energy. Staring in confusion, he wondered if this fragment had grown from the spot where the core was. But before he could process it, the blue crystal shook violently and rocketed straight at him at insane speed. Moving like a bullet, the blue fragment flew forward, crashing directly into his chest, before he even had a split second to react. His eyes flashed blue as his body shook violently, screams of pure pain escaping his throat. Above, the clear sky turned pitch black as thick fog swirled in, lifting him high into the air. Deep in the woods, Lucas and Isabella are frantically searching for William. Trust me, they are definitely not ready for what comes next. Panicking, their hearts tighten as Lucas's gaze suddenly sharpens. Shushing Isabella, he whispers to stay completely quiet as they spot something. "All right, you and I are about to dive into a wild survival story." In a thick mist, a glowing blue figure sways. Terribly afraid, Isabella whispers if it is a ghost. Lucas just rolls his eyes and tells her to stop being ridiculous. He insists ghosts are not real. Yet, the eerie silhouette inside the thick fog keeps drifting slowly, steadily closer and closer to them. Just as the blurry shadow is finally about to reveal itself, it suddenly shimmers and completely vanishes back into the heavy fog. Before they can even investigate, a blinding blue beam of light erupts from the distant forest, piercing the dark sky. Shaking with panic, they grab Lucas by the arm and scream, "Big brother, what on earth is happening over there? Is someone leveling up like in a webtoon?" Lucas gets serious, activating his power instantly. He sighs, telling her to stop reading so many fantasy stories and believe in science for once. He commands her to stay behind while he goes to check it out. Without waiting, Lucas leaps forward, his body exploding with raw power as he charges toward the blue light. Snapping out of her shock, Isabella's eyes flash with a vibrant green glow as she prepares to follow him. She channels her ability into a nearby tree vine, making it grow rapidly and lift her high into the air. Riding atop the surging vine, she speeds after her brother, chasing the brilliant pillar of light. Sensing movement behind him, Lucas stops and turns. He spots Isabella rushing up, gasping for breath as she catches up with him. He chuckles, asking why she followed him when he told her it was dangerous. Still panting, Isabella firmly replies that is exactly why she had to come along. She says there is strength in numbers, but pay attention, because this is where everything changes. Her eyes widen as she points ahead and screams for him to look. Lucas looks and freezes. A massive blue energy sphere has completely trapped William. He is floating inside with his eyes tightly shut, his face twisted in sheer agony. A glowing blue crystal is embedded right in his chest, pulsating slowly. Pale with fear, Lucas screams for him to hang on. Determined to break him out, Lucas channels every ounce of strength into his fist, launching a devastating punch at the shimmering barrier. But his maximum power does nothing. The sphere merely ripples like water, completely absorbing the impact without a scratch. Staring at the undamaged shield, Lucas grims. It looks like soft energy, but it is actually harder than solid steel. Suddenly, the blue crystal in William's chest cracks, shattering into brilliant shards that flood directly into his body. In an instant, his eyes snap wide open. A blinding burst of blue light erupts from his eyes. As the wild energy finally calms, the surrounding chaos fades into an eerie silence. William slowly regains consciousness, and a joyful Isabella cries out that he is finally awake. Lucas sighs in relief, telling him that they were worried sick because he had been completely knocked out for a whole day. But their mother is not having it. Glaring at him from the foot of the bed, she scolds him for running off alone while injured and leaving his radio behind. What on earth was he thinking? As she lectures him, William tries to piece his memory together, but yesterday is shrouded in a thick, impenetrable fog. He cannot remember a single detail. Noticing his confused look, Isabella asks if he really has no idea what happened to him back there. She explains he was trapped in a giant blue orb that suddenly shattered. But here is the crazy part. William's eyes suddenly narrow as a blue light flares in his pupils. Suddenly, a translucent blue interface appears before him, showing Isabella's profile. Female, age 16, with growth manipulation ability at Tier 1. It requires 2 Tier 2 zombie cores to upgrade, with a 19% chance to advance. Staring in absolute shock at the mysterious data panel floating right in front of him, William freezes, muttering under his breath, "What is this? Is this really Isabella's stats? How can he even see this?" As he looks at his mother, the system updates again. It displays his mother's profile. Female, age 52, with purifying light Tier 1. She needs 3 Tier 2 zombie cores to upgrade, with a 50.3% chance to reach high tier. Glancing over at Lucas, the panel refreshes once more, showing his details. Male, age 28, possessing Blood Bastion, Tier 1. Requiring 2 Tier 2 zombie cores with a 12% chance to advance. Looking at the swirling data, William quickly begins to figure things out. He realizes an original core is required to break through to high tier, but the odds are terrible. Even worse, there is no known way to boost those rates or what failure might do. Looking down at the single original core in his hand, William takes a deep, steadying breath, his resolve hardening. Time is running out. Before they arrive, he must become stronger, no matter the cost. As he sinks deep into his thoughts, his father suddenly slaps him on the shoulder, barking to snap out of it. William looks back helplessly and asks what is wrong. His father, William Jinhao, grins and teases him for zoning out and being so lost in thought. Right then, another system panel pops up before him, displaying his father's profile. Male, age 51, with a giantification ability that has not yet awakened. His awakening probability is only 4%, but boosted to 100% by external influence. He requires 1 tier, 1 zombie core, but his success rate is minus 70%. After reviewing his father's stats, William gets out of bed and brushes off the sheets, casually telling them he is fine, but deep down, his mind is racing. He can now see everyone's abilities, awakening status, upgrade needs, and success rates. It feels like he is using a complete cheat code. A game where only he has the walkthrough. Seeing him head outside, his mother asks exasperatedly where he is going. He simply waves her off, saying he needs fresh air. Walking out to the courtyard, he leaves them behind. Isabella pouts at his retreating back, complaining that he is heartless when they were so worried about him. Lucas chuckles, patting her shoulder and advising her to give William some space. Outside, Summer Luna spots William coming out, her face lighting up with pure joy. She waves cheerfully, calling out that he is finally awake just as she finished making food. Sleeping for an entire day has left William absolutely starving. He smiles, admitting he is starving. Watching from the balcony, Lucas chuckles, and honestly, you and I are probably wondering the same thing. When did he win her over? Isabella is not surprised at all, rolling her eyes and telling him he is late to notice. After that night together, it was obvious. Their father steps out, grinning as he tells Lucas to hurry up because William already has a girlfriend while his big brother is still flying completely solo. Lucas sighs deeply as Isabella teases him about only ever bringing his bros home, never a girlfriend. Having finished his meal, William wipes his mouth. his expression turning serious as he prepares to ask a quiet question. Let's dive back in as things get tense. When asked about Jack, Summer Luna softly shook her head. No, he's outside my detection range now. Even with Lucas searching, there was absolutely nothing. Hearing this, William furrowed his brows, lost in heavy thought. In his past life, Jack was just a nobody swallowed by the hordes. Now, he is a real threat. Realizing he let his guard down, William frowned deeply, drawing the attention of those around him. Summer Luna edged closer, whispering softly, "You have been frowning a lot lately. It is not like you at all." She remembered how he was when the outbreak first started. While everyone else panicked, he stayed completely calm, guiding them through crisis after crisis. Back then, she truly believed he could handle absolutely anything. He brought safety and reliability, but one man's strength has limits. He can't shoulder everything alone. She pleaded with him to share his burdens because, after all, they are family. Hearing that, William teased her with a light smile. Family, huh? Her face flushed bright red instantly as she stammered, trying to explain what she really meant. Flustered and embarrassed, she finally gave up. Watching her react like this warmed his heart. Chuckling softly, he told her he understood completely. Then he glanced up at the balcony, shouting for the three eavesdroppers to come down because they needed to talk. Caught red-handed, the trio exchanged highly awkward glances. Once they gathered, William laid out everything. He explained his clash with a Tier 3 user, the secrets of power, advancement, and the existence of original cores. Realizing the massive dangers ahead, they quickly agreed on a plan. They would leave the village to search for supplies and prepare for the chaotic future. Now pay attention to this reaction. Isabella excitedly noted that they aren't the only survivors left, but William simply lowered his gaze in silence. Beside him, Mother Sia's expression grew incredibly tense. She warned that more survivors might not be good news, noting that human nature rarely survives the trials of an apocalypse. When survival is on the line, humans can be far more terrifying than zombies. Hearing this, William raised his head, his eyes burning with absolute, steely resolve. He declared firmly that they must stick together, constantly upgrade their abilities, hoard weapons, and defend their home no matter what it takes. Their driver burst into a loud, confident laugh, declaring that anyone foolish enough to cross them would regret it deeply. Before long, they pulled over right across from the old fishery. Staring at the rundown facility, William's father asked if this was truly the place with gunpowder. William nodded confidently, hinting that there was actually much more than just gunpowder inside. But before he could finish his sentence, a deafening explosion ripped through the air. A massive fireball erupted from the fishery, lighting up the entire sky. Seeing the massive blast, William froze completely. His eyes went wide in shock, totally stunned by the unexpected devastation. Moments later, as smoke cleared from the ruined facility, a group of heavily armed men emerged. Seeing this well-equipped squad, Lucas narrowed his eyes and tensely asked where they came from. William's eyes sharpened as he calmly replied that these guys were likely the ones helping Jack smuggle weapons. Everyone turned to him, utterly confused. William quickly explained that he had locked the main gate and kept the key during his last visit. Normally, finding the storage room would be impossible, but they blew open the entrance without any hesitation. This proved someone already knew about the weapon stash, pointing directly to an inside job. Lucas clenched her fists in absolute frustration, gritting her teeth over losing the loot first. But William just smirked, saying it might not be over yet. Catching his drift, Lucas asked with deep worry if he was planning to fight armed men head-on. William chose to remain completely silent. Instead, he turned to Summer Luna, asking her to sense how many zombies were lurking beneath the fish ponds. Hearing this, she nodded softly. Let's pause for a second, because what she senses next completely changes their plan. Closing her eyes, she scanned the fishery and reported exactly 52 zombies lurking inside the ruined facility. 45 are standard, but 6 have cores, making them Tier 2. Pausing with a grim expression, she added that there was one beast unlike anything else. It is massive, incredibly strong, and has a black crystal in its head. William narrowed his eyes calmly. That sounds like a Tier 3 zombie. He analyzed the situation, noting the underground space was too cramped for the enemies to use guns freely. There is absolutely no way they survive easily, especially with a Tier 3 lurking below. A smirk touched William's lips as he suggested they sit back and let both sides destroy each other. Isabella's eyes lit up with absolute excitement. Rubbing her hands together, she grinned, eager to watch the show and sweep in to clean up the remains. During their quiet discussion, Lucas suddenly raised his hand, warning everyone to hold up. William instantly tensed up. Following Lucas's sharp gaze, he spotted a crouched gunman further down the road, actively scanning in their direction. Spotting him, William shouted for everyone to get down as bullets flew. Keeping his cool under heavy pressure, he told Lucas they needed to split up. Without hesitating, Lucas agreed to draw him out from above while William flanked from below. William nodded, immediately darting into the shadows to circle their target. Sensing the trap, the gunman vaulted over the barrier, trying to escape into the thick forest. But the moment he landed, William appeared right before him like a shadow. Before the enemy could react, William slammed his palm directly into the man's forehead. A dull thud echoed as the gunman spun through the air and crashed down unconscious. Looking at the completely unconscious foe, William calmly suggested dragging him back to force some intel out of him. But right then, Lucas screamed out a frantic warning from the distance. Before he could react, a massive explosion erupted right where William was standing. When the smoke finally cleared, only a deep crater remained in his place. The captured enemy was completely vaporized, leaving only a severed arm behind. Thankfully, William's reflexes saved him as he leapt behind a sturdy tree just in time. Shocked, William noticed a smoking, hot marble at the center of the blast. Nearby, Lucas shouted another warning about an enemy ability user as a sharp whistling noise sliced through the air. William looked up sharply as multiple marbles flew straight at him. With a massive bang, the tree he was hiding behind snapped cleanly in half. A stray marble grazed his hand, leaving a bleeding scrape. Lucas anxiously called out to check on him, but William just looked at the scratch and shrugged it off. He quickly asked if Lucas saw where the shots were coming from. Lucas grimly noted that the marbles were flying in from multiple directions. There is absolutely no way to pinpoint the shooter since they're ricocheting off trees. As Lucas compares it to a giant pinball machine, you and I are left wondering how they'll survive. All right, you and I are jumping right into a deadly game where trees act like bumpers and lethal marbles whistle through the forest. Seeing this, William realized hiding was totally useless. Their attacker could clearly track their every move, but something felt off. If these deadly projectiles were fired from such a massive distance, how on earth could they target them with such terrifying accuracy? To pinpoint them like this, the sniper had to be nearby, or they had another ability user feeding them coordinates. After William cleared out the hidden forest zombies, Lucas finally relaxed, but then frowned as the deadly barrage suddenly stopped. William narrowed his eyes, his voice turning cold as ice. That means my theory was right on the money. They were using that zombie as a spy. Lucas gasped in shock, realizing there were at least 2 ability users. William remained on high alert, muttering that there could be even more. Suddenly, Isabella yelled from the roadside, telling her brothers to get in the car immediately. The armed squad from the fishery was on the move, and they had just been spotted. The warning made both brothers freeze, but William quickly recovered. Going head-to-head against an unknown number of enemies with mysterious powers was a recipe for disaster. Falling back to make a real plan was their only option. Meanwhile, deep in the woods, a blonde mercenary was absolutely furious that their targets had slipped away, glaring angrily at his heavy companion, whom he called Fathead. He complained about their fun being ruined and asked why the shared sight was cut off. Fathead, casually applying lipstick, gave a lazy shrug. He explained that their scout's head was completely obliterated, asking what else he was supposed to share. Then, batting his eyelashes, he flirtatiously added that those 2 targets were pretty cute. They were surprisingly tough for ordinary citizens. After a moment, Fathead grumbled, questioning why the blonde guy had killed their client's man, demanding to know how they would explain the mess. The blonde shrugged it off, saying anyone who got caught deserved to die. They could easily blame the kids anyway. Besides, their mission was clearing zombies, so a little collateral damage was nothing. It was no big deal to him. Suddenly, a sharp-eyed bald elder approached them, ordering them to stop messing around and get inside because the freezer was finally open. Now pay attention here, they want to secure the fisheries supplies first, but Jojo's tone drops to an ice-cold whisper as he warns the group. Once they take full control, they will hunt us down. Immediately, an oppressive wave of dread filled the room like a suffocating blanket. After a tense silence, Joing forced a weak smile, hoping it wouldn't be that bad. She reminded them about the Tier 3 zombie at the fishery and all those explosives. They won't be able to just use guns there. Maybe those monsters will wipe them out instead, she suggested, trying to stay positive, but he frowned deeply, warning her not to get her hopes up because they have powerful ability users. They do not need guns to eliminate those zombies. Joing's optimistic smile faded as she quietly asked what their next move was. That was when Joa, who had stayed silent, spoke up coldly. He firmly declared that if they dared to hunt them, they would fight to the bitter end. Joba slammed his hand on the table, vowing to personally drag anyone threatening his family to hell. Grinning, he turned to Joing, asking her to help prepare more homemade explosives. They wanted to make sure those mercenaries received a massive explosive welcome if they ever dared to show up. Joing nodded eagerly, her eyes bright. But watching this, Jojo only felt his heart grow heavier. In his past life, it took 2 full months for anyone to discover Qing Mountain Village, but now things were moving way too fast. This time, it only took 1 single week. These guys were professional mercenaries whose tactical coordination and firepower far outclassed them. If they got those fishery explosives and absorbed the Tier 2 zombie cores to power up even further, the consequences for his family would be absolutely catastrophic. Waiting was a death sentence, but attacking now was incredibly risky. As Jojo sank deeper into his grim thoughts, a soft, warm hand gently slipped over his. You and I can feel the immense tension here. But Bea just smiles warmly, telling him to trust his family. Suddenly, a burst of static cuts through the room as Hang Tao calls out urgently. Identifying himself, William grabbed the device and asked what on earth was going on. Huang Tao replied breathlessly, explaining they were at the hardware store and had just found a collapsed survivor. Hearing this, William's eyes widened in shock as he barked an order into the radio. He ordered them to tie the stranger up immediately. A confused Huang Tao asked why, but William snapped back, telling him to just do it with 0 questions. Hanging up, William rushed out, yelling for the family to stay put and guard the house. As he sprinted toward the store, his mind raced with sheer panic. An enemy scout must have tracked them down way faster than expected. His expression turned icy. He could not let this intruder escape alive. Sprinting hard, William finally arrived at the hardware store. Olivia ran out to meet him, excited to share that they had scavenged tons of useful medicine from the hospital. But William did not even pause, throwing out a cold nod before brushing right past her. Olivia stood frozen in the doorway, staring after him with a deeply hurt expression. Busting inside, William demanded to know where the intruder was. Huang Tao pointed to a dark corner where the survivor was bound tightly. William approached, inspecting the captive. Something felt off. This guy did not look like an elite mercenary. Frowning, William reached down and pulled the man's face upward. When the face was revealed, William gasped in absolute shock, whispering Gao Xiaobai's name. Just then, the man opened his eyes, panicked upon realizing he was tied up, and began thrashing wildly. Before William could say a word, Gao Xiaobai activated his power, phasing straight into the void and vanishing. William yelled for him to calm down, shouting that they had met before. Suddenly, Gao Xiaobai tore through a spatial rift right behind Olivia, grabbing her hostage. Trembling with fear, he screamed for everyone to stay back, or he would kill her. Huang Tao raised his hands to de-escalate the situation, assuring him they meant no harm. Gao Xiaobai hesitated before letting Olivia go, muttering that he just really wanted some beef noodles. Back at base, everyone watched in awkward silence as Gao Xiaobai inhaled bowl after bowl of beef noodles with pure joy. The room was dead silent as the man ate like a starved animal. Leaning in close, they whispered to William, asking if this was really the legendary guy from the mountains. William nodded silently. Nearby, Willie Inning turned her nose up in disgust, scoffing that he looked like a freeloading bum. But William kept his eyes narrowed, studying the eating man intensely. Something was totally wrong. He did not act like the powerhouse from before and did not even recognize William. Growing highly suspicious, William quietly triggered his system scan. A status panel popped up. Gao Xiaobai, age 28, possessing spatial teleportation. He was at Tier 1, with a 15% chance of evolving, and needed 1 origin core. William was completely baffled. He distinctly remembered the guy claiming to be a Tier 3 powerhouse. Why is he only Tier 1? Is he faking? Or did he lose his memory? Well, as he finishes his meal, you and I will have to find out next time. All right, you and I are diving right into the moment our main character meets a very weird survivor. He smiles warmly, thanking the team, but William coldly cuts him off. William demands answers. Staring him down, he asks how he reached their village. Gao Xiao blinks blankly, completely confused, before stammering that it is a pretty complicated story. He claims he teleported, which William doubts, asking if he was escaping. Gao Xiao nods quickly, explaining that a massive horde of flesh-eaters chased him all the way out of the city. He panicked, closed his eyes, and suddenly ended up here. Looking at their totally calm faces, he asks if they are seriously just going to believe a crazy story like that. He is shocked that nobody flinched at the word teleport. William ignores his confusion, asking if he came from the city. As Gao Xiao nods, William Ming immediately chimes in. He asks about the city, wondering if the military took control. At those words, Gao Xiao's face goes pale as horrific memories of the outbreak flash through his mind. It takes him a moment to speak, his voice filled with dread. The city was a total nightmare, he says, with the very first day descending into absolute chaos. Screams echoed everywhere as people ran for their lives. He hid in a trash pile all night, listening to the horrific cries outside, telling himself to just hang on. He hoped for a rescue that never came. By morning, the entire city was lost. Gao Xiao whispers that while some kept fighting in absolute despair, others simply gave up. They ended their own lives. As the room grows heavy with grief, William calmly cuts in. He tells the boy to skip the tragic details and get straight to the point. Now pay attention here, because this text message changes everything. After flashing a quick OK sign, the guy pulls out his phone to show them a text. Instantly, William's eyes sharpen as he reads it. The message claimed the Chosen would become the new humanity. It arrived on the second day, sending a sudden, cold shiver running straight down William's spine. In his previous life, it took over a month after the outbreak for the first ability users to emerge. Back then, no one even knew about zombie cores. How could they possibly know this early? William's pupils shrink as a terrifying thought hits him. Could someone else have been reborn too? Just then, William Ming asks if city survivors already know about the cores. Gao Xiao is shocked to hear they know about cores too. William Ming crosses her arms proudly, boasting that they have not only seen them, they have actually eaten them. Gao Xiao's jaw drops. He asks if they all awaken powers from eating them. William Ming grins smugly, confirming it, leaving Gao Xiao staring at them with intense envy. He sighs deeply, wishing his own team had been that lucky, and explains that on the third day, he joined a group of over 100 survivors. They spent their days hunting zombies and scavenging. After 2 days, they found 5 cores, and the 5 team leaders decided they would be the first to eat them. Only the captain successfully awakened his powers. The other 4 leaders mutated into horrific monsters and were killed on the spot right then and there. By the 4th day, their captain was raiding other survivor groups, sparking brutal wars between ability users. As the fighting escalated, they began forcing regular people, including him, to consume the dangerous cores. Most people mutated instantly or died in the endless violence. It became pure madness, so he fled, chased by a massive zombie horde, until his powers finally awakened and saved his life. Lucas frowns at the thought of survivors killing each other over supplies, while Isabella shivers, admitting she is incredibly glad she stayed safe inside their quiet village. The city sounds terrifying, she says. Gao Xiao nods eagerly, slapping his knee, praising this peaceful village for its abundance of food, clean water, and absolute safety. You and I both knew that dream wouldn't last. The guy declares he is staying forever, but William immediately shatters his fantasy, coldly warning him that this place is far from safe. Gao Xiao blinks, totally confused. William explains they are facing their own problems, meaning if he wants to stay and eat, he has to work and pull his own weight. When William steps outside, Bea hurries over, surprised at how quickly the interrogation ended. William nods, telling her they should keep the guy around since he might actually be useful. Takahashi Bey scratches his head, shyly thanking everyone for the delicious meal. In response, William's parents and the rest of the group take turns introducing themselves to their new guest. Takahashi responds seriously, calling them Sister Luna, Sister Fang, and Uncle Hao. The entire group freezes, utterly baffled by how casually he is addressing them. Lucas steps out, nudging Takahashi in disbelief. He asks how a guy who looks over 30 can call girls in their 20s sister. Takahashi's eyes go wide. He protests that he is actually only 18 years old. Silence fills the room. After a stunned pause, William Ming gasps, unable to believe he is that young. Takahashi looks completely heartbroken, like he was just emotionally knocked out. He insists he just looks a bit mature for his age, prompting William to step in and calm everyone down. In an instant, Takahashi lunges forward, hugging William tightly and crying like a baby. He thanks him, sobbing that he thought William was cold, but is actually a big softie. William is completely speechless, though he recalls being equally shocked when his appraisal skill confirmed the kid's real age. Brushing him off, William tells him that is enough. William tells him to follow because time is short. Takahashi blinks, asking where they are going, but William just tells him he will see soon enough. William remains highly cautious, wondering if this guy is hiding a dark past under his goofy act. Before they can leave, Bea runs up holding something, calling for William to wait up. She hands him a long object, explaining she found it among their scavenged weapons. She thought it would suit his fighting style and hopes he likes using it. William takes the weapon, pulling a beautiful long blade from the black bag. On the handle, 2 characters are engraved, reading Junhai. William smiles faintly, nodding in appreciation. He thanks her for the nice blade. Seeing his genuine smile, Bea beams. Before leaving, William warns her that they will return in an hour, instructing her to call immediately if trouble starts. With those final words, he departs with Takahashi. Walking along, the young man asks where they are headed, and William replies it is a place he should recognize. It is the back mountain where he originally found the core. Takahashi is shocked, asking if they are driving, but William reveals he wants him to teleport them instead. Takahashi nervously scratches his head, terrified that transporting another person might cause a disaster. William claps him on the shoulder, firmly telling him he will never know unless he tries. Takahashi sighs, telling him to hang on tight. He grabs William's arm and triggers his power, causing both of them to vanish into thin air without leaving a single trace behind. They suddenly reappear, standing on the edge of an abandoned high-rise skyscraper. The air is eerily quiet, but a split second later, Takahashi realizes there is nothing beneath his feet. Just as he begins to fall, William grabs his collar, leaving him dangling in midair. Takahashi screams in absolute terror, begging William to pull him back up onto safety. William does not even flinch, casually scanning the area. It seems they landed on the north side, 3 kilometers off target. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see where they end up next. All right, you and I are diving right back into this insane test. William looks down at the dangling Takahashi and says coldly, aim for the mountain this time. Takahashi loses his mind, but William stays stone cold. Takahashi desperately wants to refuse, but one look at William's completely expressionless face, and he knows that saying no will literally get him dropped right out of the sky. With absolutely no choice, he gulps, charges his power, and teleports them straight toward the back mountain. But with every single jump, Takahashi lets out a loud, dramatic scream, sounding like he is being exorcised. After a few chaotic jumps, they finally land on a thick tree branch. William shoots him a completely deadpan look, asking him to stop screaming because he is literally scaring all the wildlife. Takahashi blushes hard with embarrassment, arguing that he is not some teleporting robot. He has never done consecutive jumps like this, let alone with a heavy passenger. But William does not care to argue. We are almost there. Keep moving, William orders. Takahashi shuts his eyes, gasping for breath, and asks to rest. But William just shakes his head. They are on a strict timer. With a deep, defeated sigh, Takahashi reluctantly powers up his ability again. After a couple more jumps, they finally reach the edge of a massive crater hidden behind the mountain. Staring down at the massive pit, Takahashi pants, completely out of breath, hoping they finally made it. William nods, confirming this is the spot, before shooting his companion, a freezing, judging look. Honestly, your teleportation skills are way worse than I expected. Takahashi blinks in pure confusion as William continues, stating that the absolute most critical thing in teleportation is control, and yours is only accurate within 100 meters. Any further, and your landings are a total mess. Plus, your stamina drains way too fast to even chain your jumps properly. Takahashi scratches his head with an awkward grin, hoping it is still usable. But William suddenly snaps, his voice cutting like a whip as his eyes narrow with dangerous intensity. How long will you keep acting? Pay attention. William grips his blade, coldly revealing they actually crossed paths right here not long ago. Stop pretending I do not know what you can actually do. With his sharp metallic ring, he draws his sword, unleashing a terrifying aura. William demands to know his real goal. Takahashi stumbles back, absolute panic written all over his face. He claims they never met and that William has the wrong guy. He just wanted a meal, promising to do chores in exchange. But before he can even finish his excuse, a massive wave of blade energy comes slicing straight toward him, slamming into the earth and kicking up a huge cloud of dust. Takahashi barely teleports away in time, his eyes wide with sheer disbelief. This guy is not bluffing, he is actually trying to kill him. Terrified screams of help and murder echo through the forest. This guy is insane. Meanwhile, William calmly follows behind with his drawn blade, strolling as if he has all day, watching Takahashi flail in sheer terror, which makes him frown. This reaction does not seem fake. He looks genuinely terrified. So what is going on here? Which version of him is real? Or was his previous opponent someone else entirely? Suddenly, Takahashi snaps, screaming from the bottom of his lungs. He yells that he has never backed down from a fight in his life, causing William to pause in slight surprise. A second later, Takahashi roars and charges straight ahead. William effortlessly steps to the side, causing Takahashi to completely miss and faceplant into the ground, eating a mouthful of dirt. William stares down at him with a flat expression. Not bad. At least he did not run away. He is definitely no warrior, but he will do just fine as tactical backup. Takahashi finally gets it and slaps his forehead. You saw his reaction, right? He dramatically pouts, complaining that he honestly thought William was trying to end his life. William ignores the drama, coldly telling him it is time to head back and focus on the real mission. That night, a vehicle quietly parks in the woods 1 kilometer away from the fishery. Sitting on top of the car, William gazes grimly at the faint lights in the distance. They are 1 kilometer from the target, and according to the plan, his brother and Takahashi will infiltrate first. His mother and Bea will wait behind as backup. Takahashi's face twists into a nervous grin as he asks if they really have to do this since those guys haven't even messed with them. William's eyes narrow as his voice drops low. He warns that those thugs will kill for supplies, telling him that if he is too terrified, now is his chance to run. Takahashi frantically waves his hands, claiming he is not scared, just worried about anyone getting hurt. Before he can finish, Lucas chimes in to ease the tension, telling them both to relax. They already agreed the risk was low, but Takahashi still looks deeply troubled, his face filled with heavy unease. Earlier that afternoon, when they returned, William laid out the plan to raid the fishery. His father almost exploded, asking if he was insane, but William calmly clarified they were not starting a fight. They are simply striking first to steal their ammo and supplies. Without a stockpile, those thugs will not dare to make a move, and even if they do, the family will have the firepower to defend themselves. His father frowns, pointing out the fishery is heavily guarded. How do they plan to slip inside, and even if they succeed, how will they carry all that heavy loot back out? William turns to Takahashi with a faint smile, admitting he cannot do this alone, but with teleportation, they have a shot. Takahashi, busy slurping noodles, almost chokes at the mention of his name. No way, what if they run into those maniacs? William pats his shoulder, telling him to relax since he and his brother will protect him. Worst case, they teleport right back out. Their entire family is relying on him. Takahashi rubs his head in utter defeat, complaining that one impulsive choice turned him into a pack mule when he just wanted a chill life. Nearby, Bea hands William a walkie-talkie for communication. William takes it, looking toward the distant tree line, wondering if they can see the fishery. Bea activates her power, her eyes glowing faintly. She promises to try, focusing her gaze on the dark outline of the distant facility. A moment later, she reports that the enemy numbers are actually way down. Only one Tier 3 zombie remains alongside a few Tier 2s. William nods with sharp eyes, realizing they are already moving. He turns to his mother, but she immediately cuts off his worries. She tells him to focus on the mission, while she keeps everyone safe. William nods respectfully, then slips into the shadows without another word. He leads Lucas and Takahashi stealthily toward the fishery, hugging the dark tree line. Reaching the outskirts, they spot the main gate, which is barely guarded. William narrows his eyes. Their main force must be underground. He whispers into the radio, asking for the zombie positions. Bea replies instantly, stating the Tier 3 is still in the southeast corner. The Tier 2s are gathering near the center, down by 2. Listening closely, William mutters that the enemies have already started clashing with the Tier 2 monsters. This means the northwest underground entrance is clear. He hands the radio to Lucas, telling him that he and Takahashi are going to scout ahead. He tells his brother to wait for their signal, pointing toward a distant edge of the factory 10 meters down. Takahashi nods nervously, takes a deep breath, and activates his power. In a flash, they vanish, reappearing right at the northwest corner of the factory. The second they land, William instantly clamps his hand over Takahashi's mouth, cutting off his gas before he can make a sound. He signals him to stay silent, whispering that they are safe for now. Trust me, you and I do not want to miss what happens next. All right, you and I are diving straight into absolute chaos. Takahashi gasps as he realizes this crate is not gunpowder. It is full of actual guns. Meanwhile, outside the fishery, Lucas watches the facility, praying everything goes smoothly. Right then, the air behind him begins to ripple and distort. Before he can even react, William and Takahashi phase right back into view. Smirking, William taps the crate. Guess what we just brought back, he boasts. William Ming steps forward and pops the lid, his eyes completely lighting up at the sight of rows of brand new firearms. You actually brought guns. William gasps, mind blown. But it gets better, there are medkits, ammo, and rations in that warehouse. Enough supplies to arm a whole squad. No wonder everyone is fighting over this place. Turning to Takahashi, he insists they must empty the warehouse before anyone else discovers it. Suddenly, William Ming speaks up, begging to go with them so he can finally be of some use. Takahashi hesitates, clearly feeling the strain, but he finally nods. Okay, let's try. And with that, he triggers his teleportation power once again. Meanwhile, back in the warehouse, that blonde guy who attacked William slices a zombie in half and smugly wipes his blade, but he has no idea a silent monster is creeping up right behind him. He realizes too late he is not alone. But just as the zombie lunges, its head violently explodes with a loud pop. Turning around in pure shock, the blonde guy sees Fathead, who just forced the creature to self-destruct. Fathead waves his hand casually, complaining that turning the power on attracted so many Tier 2 zombies. Meanwhile, the old man calmly steps up and crushes a zombie skull with one single, effortless strike. He notes with chilling calm that this saves them the trouble of hunting. The blonde guy just scoffs, complaining that these Tier 2 weaklings are barely even worth their time. A Tier 3 would be way more fun, he grins. Fathead agrees, excited at the thought of controlling a Tier 3 beast. But the old man just shoots them a cold look. If a Tier 3 actually shows up, you two will die before you can even try, he warns. That shuts them up instantly. But their silent unease is broken by a blood-curdling scream. A soldier got bitten. The poor guy writhes in pure agony, screaming for someone to help him. As he rolls on the floor in absolute panic, the blonde man crouches next to him with a cruel, mocking smirk. Stop screaming. We obviously won't leave you behind to die, he sneers. He pulls a glowing crystal core out of his jacket, slowly waving it in front of the dying soldier's terrified face. Eat this, he tells him. If you are lucky, you might become like us. The wounded soldier stares at the crystal, desperately clinging to his sanity between pure fear and hope. Leaning in, the blonde guy whispers, "What is wrong? Don't hesitate. Become one of the chosen." But before he can even finish his creepy speech, bang. A sudden gunshot echoes through the room. The bullet flies right past his ear, putting the infected soldier down for good. A scar-faced man steps forward with pure disgust. Back off, freak. Instantly, the blonde guy's face turns dark. What did you say to me? He growls. Now pay attention here because Scarface does not back down. He raises his gun and repeats it slowly. Back off. You mutated freak. The blonde man's rage snaps. You think I won't end you right here, right now. But just as things are about to explode, the old man speaks up. Enough. The high-ups approve this alliance, and I will not tolerate useless fighting, he warns. Gritting his teeth, the blonde guy suppresses his dark energy, holding back his boiling rage. The old man steps forward slowly, his voice dripping with dark, quiet venom. You know the best part of being a teacher? He pauses, then adds coldly. You get to prune the crooked branches. Then, he turns to Scarface. This warehouse smells of sulfur. You want to explain to the leaders why it blew up? Annoyed, Scarface clicks his tongue and orders his men to switch to blades instead. Nobody fires unless I order it. Meanwhile, Jojo's team uses this perfect distraction to haul away most of the crates. Looking at their massive haul, Jojo nods in absolute satisfaction. This is more than enough to arm our entire family to the teeth. Jo-min nods, shocked at how smoothly this went. Jojo turns to Takahashi, giving him a gentle pat on the shoulder. You doing okay? Takahashi pants heavily but smiles. I am fine, just did not expect to carry half a warehouse today. Seeing him exhausted, Jo-min hesitates. Maybe we should rest. He looks terrible. But Jojo's face darkens. We can't, he says. Those Tier 2 zombies won't stay distracted forever, and we still need to grab the remaining medical supplies. Just one last run. Can you handle it? Takahashi grits his teeth and nods. Yeah, I got this. Now, you and I both know this is incredibly risky, but he activates his teleportation anyway. But the moment they reappear, Takahashi collapses straight to the floor, totally out cold. The sudden fall startles both Jojo and Jo-min, throwing them into high alert. Jojo rushes over to check his pulse. It is pure power exhaustion. He has burned through all his energy. Help me carry him to that wall. I'll look for some glucose to stabilize him. Meanwhile, the old man arrives at the infirmary door, flanked by Fathead, his crew, and several armed soldiers. They have no idea Jojo and Jo-min have hidden unconscious Takahashi behind the shelves. As the villains step inside and scan the supply-filled room, the blonde guy's eyes light up with greed. No wonder you risked so much to come here. This stash can feed us for months, the blonde guy marvels. The old man nods, reminding Scarface that the food and medicine belong to his group. Scarface just smirks. But the moment he stops speaking, a sonic gun blasts. Boom! The old man's head explodes into a horrific burst of blood and bone, leaving the blonde guy in absolute paralyzed shock. Before he can even process the betrayal, a soldier pins him to the ground. Fathead does not even get the chance to blink before his world falls apart. He is gunned down instantly, dead before he hits the floor. Scarface steps up to the pinned blonde guy, sneering. Look at you, pathetic. Did you honestly think we would share this stash with freaks? You are just freaks who got lucky with some weird powers. That does not make you our equals. Power means profit, and you have nothing. The blonde man stays silent, lowering his head without a word. But then, he begins to laugh. That chilling, creepy sound sends shivers down Scarface's spine. What is so funny? Scarface barks. Suddenly, a cold, venomous voice echoes right from behind his shoulder. It is the apocalypse, and you are still crying about power hierarchies. The only law left is survival of the fittest. Scarface freezes as the old man, whose head was literally blown off, stands back up, grinning. Sweating in pure terror, Scarface spins around and fires his gun in a blind panic. But the old man does not even flinch as the bullets fly toward him. He just stares back, completely empty. Then, the impossible happens. Every single bullet stops in midair, hovering inches from his skin. Scarface gasps in horror, asking what kind of monster he is facing. "Shoot him. Everyone, shoot him," he screams, his voice cracking with panic. But before his soldiers can even raise their rifles, a sudden storm of bullets tears through their ranks. They drop like flies, shot clean through. On the side, a sniper with glowing red eyes sits in the shadows, calmly picking off the rest of Scarface's entire unit. Hiding behind the shelves, Jojo chuckles. "Perfect. Let these dogs rip each other to shreds." Jomin whispers, "How is Takahashi doing?" Jojo checks their unconscious friend and sighs deeply. Still totally out. No sign of waking up anytime soon. Trapped but thinking fast, Jojo grits his teeth. If those freaks end up destroying each other, we will just finish off whoever survives. Scarface stumbles backward in absolute terror as the old man closes in. "Stay back. I have powerful people backing me," he screams. "And that's where we leave it, trust me. You won't want to miss what happens next." Let's dive into this wild scene, an old man laughing coldly, claiming those important targets are already dead. Turns out his spies infiltrated them way before they even hit the fishery. Just like his victims, he never planned on cooperating. One world simply doesn't need two eras. Raising his hand, he flicks his finger, sending a suspended bullet screaming forward with a deafening crack. It drills right into Scarface's head without the old man even blinking. "Your era is finished," he says. As the body hits the floor, he orders his subordinate, Swine, to clear the pests outside. The red-eyed soldier grumbles about not being fully synced with his new body yet. Beside him, a blonde guy lighting a cigarette just rolls his eyes at the excuse. "You say that every single time. Honestly, swapping bodies is like changing shirts for you." Realizing he cannot slack off, Swine drags his feet and heads out to do the job. Once he leaves, the blonde man looks at the massive stacks of supply crates. "So what is the plan now?" he asks. "Moving all of this with just the two of us will take forever." The old man goes quiet, slowly turning his gaze toward a corner shelf. "No need to rush," he mutters. "Before we pack up, let us flush out the rats hiding in the shadows." Right then, Jojo freezes. The old man's voice is chillingly calm. "The soil outside is wet," he explains. "It sticks to your shoes, and you young guys are always too sloppy. That is a habit we need to fix. Are you coming out, or do we drag you out?" Realizing their cover is completely blown, Jojo shares a quick look with Joing, then steps out with his energy already surging wildly. No more talking. Time to end this. Step by step, Jojo walks out, tightly gripping his weapon. Now watch this tension explode. Jojo dashes forward in a pure blur. The blonde guy scoffs, recognizing him instantly, and pulls out a handful of marbles, charging them with deadly energy. With a sharp flick, he unleashes the marbles. They tear through the air like high-speed bullets, closing in way too fast. Jojo's eyes narrow as his instincts kick in. He raises his sword clang, deflecting the lethal projectiles just in time. The blonde guy sneers, mocking him for trying to dodge in such a tight space. Jojo simply grins back, hook, line, and sinker. Before the blonde opponent can even process what is happening, a shadow blurs from the side. Joing has already flanked him. With his fist glowing with pure power, Joing unleashes a devastating strike right to the back of the guy's head. It is a clean hit. The blonde man drops like a sack of bricks, instantly knocked cold. Just as Joing breathes a sigh of relief, Jojo warns him to stay alert. The real threat is still standing. Jojo's eyes glow with a faint blue light as he locks onto the old man. Instantly, data streams across his vision, revealing his target. Yao Shanghai, age 61. Ability: Supercells, Tier 2. Next upgrade requires 3 Tier 3 zombie cores. His chance of reaching Tier 5 is just 24%. While the blonde lackey lies defeated, the old man, Yao Enhui, just stares back with an eerie, skin-crawling calmness that makes Jojo shudder. Jojo clenches his jaw, deciding they must strike first. Without wasting a single second, he and Joing launch a synchronized pincer attack from both sides. Jojo's blade slices cleanly across the old man's neck, but it doesn't leave a single mark. He is totally unhurt. Jojo's eyes widen. How is his skin tougher than steel? But he doesn't freeze. He calls for a synchronized strike. Joing gets the message instantly. Gathering all of his remaining energy into his fist, he prepares to unleash a devastating punch right at the target. No holding back now. Their attacks collide perfectly. Jojo's slash and Joing's energy-charged fists slam into the old man at the exact same moment, creating a massive shockwave. Now, you and I might think that would do the trick, right? But as the dust settles, Jojo completely freezes in absolute disbelief. It did not even faze him. The old man is still standing, shirtless and completely unharmed. Even worse, the massive energy from their attack is actively seeping into his skin, being absorbed like water into dry ground. Moments later, a familiar energy surges from his core. It is the exact power signature as Joing. He copied it. Jojo's eyes go wide as he whispers in horror, "Blood God." The elder closes his eyes, savoring the stolen power. "Excellent," he says. "Your abilities are top tier. Especially you, Shaggy Boy. You have multiple powers. Do you not?" His deadly gaze locks onto them. "You both are actually qualified to join us." Joing blinks, completely stunned. "Join you?" The old man turns, casually gesturing toward the massive supply crates. "You came for these, right? Join our side, and you will have more than you can handle." Jojo scoffs in disgust. "You literally just backstabbed your own allies, and you expect us to believe your lies?" The old man dismissively points at the dead bodies. "Those were just relics of the old world," he says coldly. "We are different. We, the gifted, are destined to rule this new era." Jojo goes quiet, then asks, "Fine, but what about normal humans?" The old villain smiles warmly, his tone disturbingly calm. "They will live under our care. They will be the foundation of our new empire." Jojo snorts. "Foundation? You mean slaves?" He knows guys like this do not protect anyone. They just use people, burning them as fuel to power their sick dream of a new world. While talking, Jojo secretly gestures behind his back to catch Lucas's eye. Spotting the signal, Lucas nods subtly and shifts his focus toward Takahashi, who is still completely knocked out on the floor. The old man's face darkens with sudden anger. Jojo just chuckles softly. "I do not need to see your new world. Knowing it is built by trash like you tells me it already smells like garbage." "William, let us go," Lucas shouts, immediately bolting for the exit with Takahashi slung over his shoulder. The old man spins around, his eyes narrowing as he realizes they are escaping. At that exact moment, William dashes past him like a dark shadow, whispering coldly right into the villain's ear. "I will hunt down every last one of you and drag your new world straight to hell." The old man freezes, stunned. Before he can even move, he notices a burning lighter falling right by his feet. Boom! A massive explosion tears the entire warehouse apart, blasting fire and debris into the sky. Meanwhile, deep in the woods, Bea is frantically shouting into her radio, trying to reach William, Lucas, and Takahashi. But she only gets dead static in response. The radio stays dead silent. William's mother looks on with deep worry. Still nothing? Bea nods grimly, watching the black smoke rise. "There was an underground explosion down there. Something went off in the basement. I cannot see what is happening from here." But before she can finish, her face turns pale. Deep inside the burning ruins, a Tier 3 zombie that was sleeping slowly opens its eyes. Under the smoking rubble, William and Lucas crawl out coughing, but safe. Seeing William is just dusty, Lucas sighs in relief. "You are all right. But wait, where's Takahashi?" William casually points to the side. "Over there, still snoring." Sure enough, Takahashi is out cold in the debris, sleeping like a baby. Lucas stares at him in complete disbelief. An entire building just exploded, and this guy did not even flinch. Lucas looks back at the burning heap. All those supplies are completely gone. William just brushes off his sleeves, muttering that burning them is better than letting the enemy have them. And that is where we leave it, William scoffing that they are just arrogant trash. "You and I definitely need to see what happens next. Let us dive into a world where some monsters are better off gone." Lucas walked over, patted Takahashi on the leg, and said, "Let us head back." He knew William was hiding a major secret, but if she did not want to talk, he decided not to push. Suddenly, the ground beneath Lucas shifted. A low rumble echoed, and then boom. The rubble violently exploded, sending sharp debris flying in every single direction. Lucas reacted instantly, diving aside to barely dodge the explosion. He crouched low, eyes sharp, staring straight at the smoke, completely alert and ready for whatever was coming next. As the smoke cleared, a terrifying figure emerged. The old man, supposedly dead, was still standing. Completely unharmed, his frail body now overflowed with raw power, muscles bulging, and eyes burning with an eerie, supernatural energy. He looked completely reborn. Meanwhile, Back in the deep forest, Bea desperately called into her walkie-talkie, her voice trembling with tension. William, can you hear me? There is a tier 3 zombie down there. It just woke up. Still, silence. Beside her, William's mother calmly said, take it easy. If they went underground, the signal probably cut off. Plus, with Takahashi there, they will be fine. He has got them covered. Bea nodded, but that massive explosion still worried her. William's mother just smiled warmly. I didn't expect my son to have someone worry this much. I feel like an outsider now. Bea blushed instantly, stammering, no, Auntie. It is not like that. But the mother was already heading toward the car trunk. Back then, William's dad handled explosives at the mines, and I was a total wreck whenever he went underground. Terrified he would blow himself up. But worry does not solve anything. Sometimes, men just cannot be relied on. When things get real, we women must step up. High above the ruined warehouse, William struggled against the mutated old man's brutal onslaught. With no choice but to defend, he desperately blocked one crushing blow after another. Pay close attention to this moment. This brutal pressure is draining both fighters fast, their stamina fading. Realizing the blast only made the monster stronger, Lucas's face tightens with absolute horror. Next to him, William muttered through his teeth, so, this is the true power of supercells. The old man raised an eyebrow, slightly impressed. I am surprised you figured it out, the villain grinned proudly. My cells have a built-in defense system. Under threat, they evolve, adapting to any danger. And at Tier 2, they do not just resist threats, they absorb them, turning danger into raw power. As he spoke, glowing crimson runes spread across his arm like living blood sigils. Then he lunged forward, a terrifying blur of force aiming right at the duo. They barely had time to react, the crushing pressure making their pupils shrink instantly. William and Lucas pushed their bodies to the absolute limit, boosting their speed. They dove in opposite directions, barely dodging the old monster's devastating, ground-shaking strike. But they countered instantly. Charging forward together, they unleashed a combined full-force strike right into the old man's back. The blow landed heavy, but did absolutely nothing. The monster did not even flinch. Suddenly, a wave of crimson energy erupted from him. He had absorbed their attack, and now he was throwing it back. Lucas took the full hit, flying backward like a rag doll and slamming hard into the ground, motionless. William watched, heart pounding, knowing everyone was dead if he did not stop this monster. Gritting his teeth, he roared, unleashing both powers simultaneously. The twin energies fused into a single, massive, burning black and white fist of force, screaming directly toward the old villain's chest. But the old man stood his ground. He calmly raised his arm, totally unfazed, to block. William's massive punch hit squarely, but it felt like hitting empty smoke. The old monster sneered, his voice dripping with venom. I told you, the stronger the attack, the more powerful my cells become. As long as they are active, I am invincible. Meanwhile, down at the fishery entrance, William's mother and Luna finally arrived. Luna's eyes narrowed as she saw the bodies piled near the gate. Did William do this? William's mother crouched near a corpse, her expression darkening. No, these people were killed by gunfire. Suddenly, shots rang out, and a soldier collapsed right before them, shot clean through the skull. Blood splattered the ground. William's mom reacted instantly, grabbing Luna and pulling her behind some nearby crates. Footsteps approached. A man in bloody military gear walked out, wiping his sleeve with disgust. Filthy. He casually began counting the dead bodies out loud. 1, 2. These pests were just in my way. Glancing around, the cold-blooded killer calmly raised his pistol again. Bang. He shot a corpse, right in front of the tensing women. You and I know things are about to get messy. The fake soldier smiled creepily. Looks like we have some extras. Come out, ladies. Drop your suddenly. His danger instincts flared, and he whipped around. But in that split second, William's mother leaped forward, disarming the man with perfect, lightning-fast precision. The killer blinked, then grinned. Well, feisty. Now I am actually excited. Let us have some fun, shall we? She said nothing, her eyes proving words were useless now. Meanwhile, high on the ruins, William was dangling in the air, choked by the old man's vice-like grip. You are different. You saw right through my ability, wield 2 powers, and know about the new world. Tell me your secrets. William remained dead, silent, refusing to speak. His eyes darted around, searching for any escape. Then, he felt it. A familiar, freezing chill rose in the air, brushing his skin like frost, and his heart raced with hope. William let out a low, deliberate laugh. The old man narrowed his eyes. What is so funny? Bloodied but defiant, William grinned. I am laughing at your sheer delusion. You think you are gods chosen to rule this world, treating humans like slaves and zombies like prey. But in the end, your kind will be buried beneath the very people you look down on. The old monster's face darkened in pure rage. Veins bulged across his arm as he squeezed William's neck even harder. With a roar, he slammed William violently into the broken concrete. William coughed up a spray of blood. Nonsense, the villain spat, eyes blazing. You think your words can shake me? Crumpled in the debris, blood dripping from his lips, William kept grinning. If there is a god, he whispered, you monsters were the very first ones he abandoned. The villain roared. Cracking with pure fury, he raised his crackling fists and brought them smashing down. Boom! The ground exploded in a devastating shockwave of destructive force. Right before the strike landed, William vanished in a puff of smoke, reappearing safely in the distance with a wicked grin. Slowly, the thick dust cleared. The old man's eyes widened, realizing William had escaped at the final second. He was about to chase him down when he suddenly froze, staring at his own hand. His cells stopped responding. No regeneration, no power. Dead. Then, from the dark rubble behind him, a pale hand reached out as a chilling voice whispered, I am cold. He spun around, but it was already too late. The corpse-like hand clamped onto his leg, frosting over his skin and instantly killing his cellular regeneration. The villain finally understood. As his eyes burned with fury, William smirked. I couldn't beat you alone, so I brought a friend. You and I know he is totally finished. All right, you and I are jumping right into the action as a frost-covered zombie crawls out of the rubble. The old man's blazing energy instantly makes him the prime target. And now, the monster is slowly closing in. The biting chill claws at his skin, forcing him to instinctively retreat. Sensing his chance, William grabs Lucas, flings him over his shoulder, and yells for Takahashi as they sprint toward the exit. But right at the exit boom, a massive explosion rocks the entire area. William spins around, eyes wide with horror as his heart sinks. The ice zombies completely shatter into frozen dust. Meanwhile, outside the warehouse, William's mother is dominating the battlefield, pushing the soldier back with brutal precision. Spotting an opening, she delivers a devastating kick straight to his chest, sending him flying. Watching from the side, Bea is absolutely stunned. This is really William's mom. The soldier staggers up, snarling in total disbelief. A trained combat instructor, beaten by a random woman? William's mom just brushes off her hands with a smug smirk. She calls him a pathetic punching bag, pushing him over the edge. Enraged, he screams that he'll kill her and reaches for his gun. Luna, iron rod. Mom shouts instantly. Luna throws it without hesitation. The soldier barely lifts his weapon before whack. The heavy iron rod smashes into his head with a brutal, sickening crack. He collapses to the ground, completely dazed. William's mom steps up, grabs the rod, and drives it right into his skull. You actually thought you could challenge me, she mutters. Know your place, rookie. But right after those words, her body suddenly starts shaking violently, as if some dark entity is trying to take complete control. Facing away, she mutters in a creepy, hollow voice, telling Luna to lead. Luna senses something is wrong, but reluctantly steps forward. Now pay attention here, because she suddenly whips around with glowing red eyes and a twisted laugh, transforming her fingers into deadly blades and lunging straight at Bea. But the strike stops just an inch from her face. Terrified, Bea stares at the trembling, clawed hand. William's mother's face contorts in pure agony as her entire body shakes violently. She is fighting the entity within her. Through clenched teeth, she roars for the bastard to get out of her body. Suddenly, an eerie voice echoes from inside her. The spirit gasps, shocked her mind is not erased. Clutching her head, William's mom sneers, telling the spirit it smells just like any other rotting, disgusting corpse. Then, a blinding wave of radiant energy explodes from her chest. Her purification power is finally awake. The invading spirit screeches in agony as the holy light burns it. It screams and burns until the voice is completely snuffed out. Finally, William's mother regains full control of her own body. Meanwhile, William stands battered and exhausted, staring down the old man. The villain sneers, warning William that since he dragged that monster here, there is absolutely no clean escape. William glances sideways. The Tier 3 zombie is standing up once more, icy mist swirling around its cracked limbs. William clicks his tongue, muttering that this is going to suck, as the old man roars. But as the old man prepares his final strike, a pale, frozen hand suddenly bursts right through his chest from behind. His eyes go wide with shock before fading. He gasps silently as the zombie's icy aura instantly freezes the gaping wound. Within seconds, the old man's entire body turns to solid frost and shatters into tiny pieces. Let's pause here, because this monster is whispering about needing heat as it looms over the shattered remains. William is sweating. This thing is on a whole different level. Charging forward without a second thought, William swings his blade. The frost-laden zombie moves slowly, allowing him to deliver a clean slash straight across its neck. But the moment his blade connects, deadly ice erupts across his own hand. It is completely frozen. The brutal chill creeps up his arm, locking his joints and forcing him to drop his sword. William clenches his jaw, a horrible feeling growing in his gut. The zombie roars, holding its wounded neck, before blasting a massive wave of frost directly from its palm. In seconds, thick ice seals the cut, stopping any damage. Bending its knees, the monster launches itself straight at William like a frozen missile. But then crack! A heavy rock strikes its head, stopping it mid-flight. Suddenly, a blinding pillar of raw energy crashes down from above, slamming the beast into the dirt with incredible force. The impact leaves a massive crater, scattering ice shards everywhere. William stands dazed until a familiar voice asks if he needs help. He turns to see his mother and Bea standing right there. They rush over, and Bea gasps at his severe frostbite, asking if he is okay. William just exhales, muttering that he will survive. But Lucas is in much worse shape. Looking down at her unconscious, battered son, William's mother asks in a deadly whisper if that monster did this. William nods. Pure rage takes over her face, and her killing intent spikes through the roof. He dared touch her son? She growls a death sentence and vanishes, instantly reappearing before the Tier 3 zombie. White-hot, radiant energy surges in her palm as she strikes downward, aiming to crush the monster's skull. The massive force of her blow rips deep trenches into the frozen earth. But the zombie unleashes its own icy defense, cracking and shattering the sphere to break free. The beast emerges completely unfazed. But William is already in position, driving his glowing, energy-charged blade deep into the creature's exposed back with a fierce strike. The energy surges deep inside the zombie. Boom! A massive explosion rips through its body, blowing its entire upper torso into a shower of black blood and bone. William stands still, staring at the destroyed remains. He finally lets out a sigh of relief, muttering that it is over, while his mother nods in approval. She admits she did not expect the fight to take so long, but just as they prepare to grab Lucas and regroup with the others, Bea suddenly screams out a warning. It is not dead. A giant wall of ice erupts behind them, and the Tier 3 zombie's mangled upper half clings to the frost, its glowing eyes locking onto them as it lunges. William's mom reacts instantly, launching a blast of pure purifying energy. But this time, the monster blocks the strike effortlessly, showing no signs of slowing down. William leaps in, slashing furiously at the thick ice wall with his blade. Clang! His sword barely leaves a single scratch on its frozen surface. Landing hard, his heart sinks. Normal attacks will not work. He needs something way stronger. That is when he spots a glowing crystal core inside a shattered wooden box nearby. It must be the old man's final weapon. Meanwhile, William's mother struggles against the Tier 3 zombie as its freezing power grows stronger by the second. She yells back, her voice firm, telling William and Luna to escape while she holds it off. Luna's heart clenches, knowing that staying behind means certain death for her. But her own powers only boost firearms, which are useless against this beast. Biting her lip, she runs straight toward Lucas to protect him and avoid being a burden. Looking around for William, she gets distracted. Crack! A massive block of ice slams her gut. That is where we leave it. Trust me, you do not want to miss what comes next. We are jumping right into the chaos as her body slams into a stone wall, shattering it on impact. She gasps, coughing up blood, all of her strength completely drained. But before that Tier 3 monster can finish her off, a hand gently stops it cold. William stands there, his voice steady as steel, asking why they always insist on being the last to fall. He chuckles, muttering about how his crazy family always does things this way. Looking up, his heavily injured mother can only watch as her son stands like an unbreakable shield between her and absolute death. Now watch this. William smirks as his new Blood Bastion skill unlocks and evolves. With a single wave of his hand, that monster is sent flying like a total rag doll, blasted back dozens of meters. But raw physical power is not going to put this creature down for good. Unbothered, he lifts his blade, slicing the air to call down a blinding rain of crimson energy from the sky, and in seconds, that terrifying beast is completely erased from existence. William lowers his sword, looks back at the others, and whispers that it is time to head home. Until we meet again, my dear mages.